greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and this is Open Mic. What's Open Mic? Well, you see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save time to take live questions. But here on the weekend, it's all up to you guys. It's just Open Mic discussing and talking about any of the things you guys want to talk about. And it's going to be an interesting weekend. By the way, I hope you guys are having a fabulous start to your weekend. I know I've already had a good start to mine. Looking forward to watching some football tomorrow. Got my D&D group tomorrow night too. I always enjoy my weekends. I really do. And I get to do open mic, so it's all good. Last night I went to go see Downton Abbey. You know what? If you had told me before that this weekend I was going to go see Rambo, Ad Astra, and Downton Abbey, that the movie I actually enjoyed the most was going to be Downton Abbey, I would have said you were crazy, but I actually ended up liking Downton Abbey more than I liked Rambo. I did not like Ad Astra. I just found it a snooze fest, whatever, but I actually ended up liking Downton Abbey more than I thought that I would. So, you know, this is why you got to go into movies with an open mind, my friends. This is why you got to go into a movie with an open mind. All right. Like I said, guys, this whole point of Open Mic is to take your live questions. So let's not waste any time and let's dive right into them. And we're going to get things started off here today with BW Rosa. And BW Rosa writes, with Disney Plus saying their new shows will be shown weekly only, will the more established shows be given the no binge treatment on Disney Plus or not? I don't know what you mean by more established shows. Do you mean the archived shows, the library shows? Like I'd like X-Men, shows that I've already done and they're finished now. No, those won't play week to week. Disney Plus isn't becoming a television network. They're going to be there and available just to watch. It's like on Hulu. They do some shows week to week, but you know, all the library shows, you can just go watch any of them all the time, anytime. So yes, while new shows like Mandalorian and whatnot will put out one new episode a week, which is absolutely the right way to do it. It's absolutely 100% the right way to do it. So while they're going to be doing that with the new shows, the library shows, those shows will all just be online and able to watch at any time. At least I'd be shocked if that's not the case, but I'm pretty positive that's how they're doing it. All right, Jimmy Anderson writes, hey, John, I really want to like it, Charter 2, probably meant Chapter 2, but I can't. It's too long and has too much comedy in it. Every time they build suspense, they ruin it by Hater cracking a joke, and it's very annoying. I mean, look, I didn't like it, Chapter 2 either, and I loved the first one. I thought the first one was great. I did not like the second one. Here's the thing, though. I don't mind the humor. Humor can actually add to tension. Humor done right can actually contribute and add new layers to a film with its tension and all that kind of stuff. And I actually thought, even though I don't like it Chapter 2 either, I thought the humor worked, particularly Hader's humor. I thought Bill Hader's humor worked quite well in the film, but that's one of the only things that I thought worked quite well in the film. You're right, it was way too long. That movie easily could have had a full half hour cut out of it. I mean, I can think of about 40 minutes worth of stuff that you easily could have cut out of it, and it would have made the film better and better pace and more bang for your buck. I mean, the whole thing, I didn't hate it Chapter 2. Don't get me wrong, Jimmy. I did not hate it Chapter 2, but I'm with you. My primary concern was there was so much redundant stuff done in it, and it's like they had no discipline. It's like, just keep adding more, add more, add more, add more, add more. No, you got to have the discipline to go, does this scene actually push the movie along, or is it just there to be there? And if it's just there to be there, then it's slowing the movie down unnecessarily. Take it out. And there, I can think of about 40 minutes worth of stuff off the top of my head they could have taken out and still maintained the core of what the movie was supposed to be about. Only it would have had much better pace and I think a lot more entertainment value, but I got to actually say, Jimmy, I, for one, did not mind the humor. The humor, to me, was one of the few things that actually clicked quite well with it. So anyway, but that's the subjectivity of film, man. Even when we both dislike a film, we can dislike a film for different reasons, you know, which is actually always kind of cool to hear. All right. Thanks for sending that in, Jimmy. Next one, Laugh Warehouse writes, what are your top 5 Oscar hosts? I don't do top 5, top 10 questions. Just you know, I've established that for a long time. But I will tell you who a couple of my favorite are. My all-time favorite Oscar host is still Billy Crystal. I still think Billy Crystal did it the best. And I miss him hosting the Oscars. I really do. He is the master of the Oscars. And, you know, I think Steve Martin is a very good host. I thought Hugh Jackman did a good job hosting it. You know, there's a bunch of people I do like. hosting the Oscars, but my favorite one is actually Billy Crystal. All right, Nathan Oswald writes, birthdays today. Maggie Grace is 36. Holy crap, it always feels like she's 18. Joseph Mazzello is 36. Alfonso Ribeiro is 48. Luke Wilson is 48. Cheryl Hines, I love Cheryl Hines, by the way. She's one of those character actresses who pops up in like 1,000 different things, and it's always delightful to see her. And Cheryl Hines is 54. Nancy Travis from So I Married an Axe Murderer. She was everybody's sweetheart. She turns 58. Dave Coulier from Full House is 60, really. Bill Murray is 69, and Stephen King is 72. Is it weird to say Bill Murray sometimes feels like he's 80? Is it bad to say that? I know sometimes I see and hear Bill and I feel like, oh, wow, he looks really good for a guy who's 80. But 60, he's still pretty young, actually. Bill Murray's still actually pretty young. We need to see more Bill Murray. We all need more Bill Murray in our lives, Nathan. Thanks for sharing that, dude. That's always fun. All right. Kenneth Colton writes, hey, John, hope your weekend is going well. So far, so good. Add Sleepy Astra was the most disappointing film I have watched in years. Now, if you don't mind, I must do a psych eval and check my blood pressure. Yeah. Did not like Ad Astra. Great concept. Asking deep questions with huge stakes, but the execution was, it was so dull. I can't remember the last time I was more bored watching a movie. I can't remember the last time or ever watching a movie that had so much good underlying stuff, the deep questions, the grand universal questions, the interpersonal questions, huge stakes, the fate of the universe is on the line, all that kind of stuff that at the same time was so unrelentingly boring. I just snoozed through the whole thing. It's just, I couldn't wait to get out of it. I just couldn't wait to get out. And I was so disappointed because you guys know I was excited for this movie. And listen, again, I'm not the type of guy that I need explosions every 5 minutes to enjoy a movie. Hell, my favorite movie of the year right now is Booksmart. I mean, that's my favorite movie of the year so far. Right now, we still got a lot of films to come, but that's my favorite film of the year so far. So I don't need big explosions, but I'm with you, Ken. I was very disappointed. And it's funny because now that Rotten Tomatoes has verified user reviews, where only people who they verify have seen the movie can cast a vote, I pay a little bit more attention these days to the Ad Astra reviews. And the funny thing is, this is one of those movies that's got quite a disparity between, not most movies don't, but this one does, between critics and audience. Like right now, it's most critics like this film. It's at an 81%, but this is one of those rare occasions where there's like over a 30% gap between them. The audience score is only 47%. And me, again, I did not like this movie. I wanted to like it. I wanted to enjoy it. It's got all the, Brad Pitt is fantastic in it. He convinces me he is that character. Deep questions, grand stakes, and yet they just dropped the ball. And there are people who love it, and that's great. That's a subjectivity film. For me, it was an absolute snorefest, unfortunately. All right, ZMG Ruler writes, love Man of Steel's The World is Too Big, Mom Scene. Dude, I could sit here, you know this. I could sit here all day and talk about all the amazing scenes in Man of Steel. To me, it is the most underrated comic book movie of all time. I adore that film. Anyway, S. Beam writes, one of two. Name this scene. First, I'm going to use you as a human shield. Oh, this is my all-time favorite action film. This is True Lies. Then I'm going to kill this guard over here with the Patterson Troker on the table. Then I was thinking about breaking your neck. What makes you think you can do all that? Know my handcuffs? I picked them. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's True Lies. Because if it's not True Lies, it's a scene just like True Lies. Because there's that scene where Arnold and he's got Jamie Lee Curtis and the thing. She goes, you kill people. I killed a lot of people, but they were all bad. I mean, I love that movie so much. All right, Chris Hamilton writes, why do theaters want to show so many commercials and trailers? Wouldn't it be better to shorten the time down so you could maybe add more showtimes? Maybe showtimes, more showtimes, more tickets sold. More tickets sold means more popcorn sold. I mean, look, I look, on its surface, I get it. You get paid to show commercials and you get paid to run trailers. I get it. And if you're a movie theater, you do want to show trailers for upcoming movies because you want to tell people, hey, come on back to the theaters next week or next month or whatever when these feature films will come out. I get it. I get the allure of commercials if you're a theater. I get the allure of trailers because they bring people back. But when you get to the point where you're pushing a full half hour of commercials and trailers before you start the movie doesn't start for a half hour till after you advertise the movie starts. That's problematic. And here's the thing. You've heard the sense penny wise, dollar foolish, right? This is the problem. Movie theaters are not rich, by the way. I have a great deal of sympathy for movie theater owners, particularly having worked at AMC theaters for a number of years. Movie theaters are a razor-thin margin business. They break even and then maybe make a little bit more. It's a very thin margin. It's not like they're making money hand over fist. They're not. These are huge complexes with multiple theaters, ridiculously expensive equipment, huge amount of bills on air conditioning and staff and rentals and the property. And it is expensive to run a movie theater. I get that, and I'm sympathetic to it. But when you look for ways to make an extra dime, but making that extra dime is going to cost you 50 cents, then you're being penny wise and dollar foolish. You're being stupid. And what the movie theater industry refuses to recognize and act on is that fewer and fewer people every year are actually going to the movie theaters. And it's because the quality and the overall movie-going experience is seeming like less and less of a value. And when you make an extra buck putting in 5 more minutes of commercials, but you're losing $50 on people who no longer want to go to your movie theater because it's become such a pain in the ass, then you are being penny wise and dollar foolish. Make $1 at the expense of $10. That's not good business. That's not good math. And this has got to change, Chris. I'm not going to go into my whole rant again, but it's got to change. They have to start looking at the holistic problem. And the holistic systemic issue here is that they need to get more people into the theaters. The solution to movie theaters and movie industry's problems is get more people into the theaters. Okay? Now, some of you may have heard different terminologies for this, but purpose-driven, right? And goals-orientated. Okay, well, what that means is this. If you know that the true solution to any problems facing your particular industry, in this case, the movie theater industry, the solution is getting more people to come in the doors, then everything you do, every decision you make, every program you introduce, every staff that you hire, every light bulb you turn on, everything you do should be done asking in light of the question, will this help or hurt getting us towards our solution? In this case, getting more people in the door. Every decision a movie theater owner makes, whether it's a staffing decision, a color of the carpet decision, it doesn't matter. Every single decision, they should stop and say, okay, now, does making this decision help us or hurt us in our goal of getting more people to come into the theaters? And if it helps your goal, you do it. If it doesn't help your goal, then you don't do it. Adding more commercial time, I'm not going to get worked up again. Adding more commercial time and making an even longer time period gap between when you say your movie is going to start and then when you actually start it. Let me ask you, Einstein, does that decision help your goals of getting more people to come to the theaters? Or does it hurt your goals of getting more people to come to the theaters? The answer is obvious. It ain't going to help. There isn't anybody who goes, I wasn't going to go to the movies tonight, but I hear they're showing some more commercials. I think I'm going to go. Right there. If you know anything about leadership, if you know anything about business, if you know anything about taking something, your body where it needs to go, then you should know then if this is the antithesis of what we're trying to do, if this is going to work against us getting to our solution, which is bringing more theaters in, then we should not do it. It's simple leadership. It's simple leadership. We need to go there. This and this will hinder us in going there. Well, then take this and this and throw it overboard, because our goal is to get there. Our goal is to get more people to come to the theaters, and adding more commercial time is not going to get more people into the theaters. Ergo, don't do it. But they've become penny wise and dollar foolish. They're like, where can we make an extra dollar, ignoring that they're sacrificing $10 in order to do it. And I honestly don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know why they're this dumb. Now, look, AMC Theaters is just as bad as anybody else for how long their trailer block is. They're terrible. AMC is just as terrible as everybody else. But I was at least very happy to see them put out their statement about those extra minutes of commercials and saying, no, we're not going to do that. It would make and they were very open about it. They said, that's going to make our customers unhappy. And if the goal is to get more people to come to our theaters, why would we do something that's going to make our customers unhappy? Let's not do that. So I don't know what they're thinking, Chris. I don't know what they're thinking. It's pretty dumb. It's pretty dumb. Anyway, they need to become focused. Our number one goal. Everything else has to work towards this one goal. Get more people into the theaters. And anything else that doesn't do that, get rid of it. That's basic leadership. And the leadership of these theater corporations is highly questionable right now. Anyway, Hector Jeter writes, John, is Mr. Eddie the next big baddie in the DCU again? Every once in a while, I got to make up a fake name of a movie. Like the other day, I came up with Gooby Gooby. And then I had to come up, I think we were talking about villains. I said, it doesn't matter what villain from the comic books you put in a movie. It's irrelevant. You could put in Mr. Eddie, and it could be the greatest comic book villain of all time. And I came up with the name Mr. Eddie. So yes, I'm developing a Mr. Eddie movie as we speak, Hector. Thank you for asking. JCool69 writes, some faves, some of your favorites. The Burbs. I love The Burbs. I'm so glad. I don't think anybody's ever mentioned The Burbs on here. Willow, Matt Monaghan. Rent. Don't hear a lot of people mentioning Rent. By the way, Joe from The Flash. Joe West, he was in the movie adaptation of Rent, by the way. That's where I knew him best from. The Fifth Element, Falling Down, a nice Michael Douglas movie in there. 12 Monkeys, Ghostbusters, The Thing prequel and sequel, Beetlejuice, Pulp Fiction, Nutty. Really? Okay, I'll be honest with you, Joe Cool. Reading through your list, I wasn't expecting to see Nutty Professor. But I like being surprised. I like being surprised by it. But when I'm reading like 12 Monkeys, Fifth Element, Falling Down, I wasn't expecting the Nutty Professor. But then again, that's just a great testament, once again, that movies are great and they're diverse and we can have different tastes. And that's awesome, man. Thanks for sending in your list, dude. All right, Nick writes, one of three. I now have hardly any incentive to watch a movie in theaters. Not only have I had to deal with people talking and looking on their phones throughout the whole movie, I don't find that to be as big of an issue today to me. It happens once in a while, but it doesn't happen. It's not as bad anymore, I don't think. Due to no more common effing courtesy, but we've taken it up the rear end with inflated movie ticket and candy prices over the years, and now more effing commercials, ads, cutting into the movie show times. Why the F would I go? I've been a moviegoer my whole life. Why do they have to make it so goddamn difficult? Yeah, you'd think they'd want more customers instead of pushing them away. I'm done with cinema and I'll stay home. But then Nick goes on to say, the rant continues. He says, the rant continues. Cinemas have big screens and speakers, whoop-de-doo. I've got an 85-inch TV and a 2,500-watt 7.4 surround sound. If that's their only selling point for watching a movie in the theater, I'm much better off watching movies at home. Cheaper, more comfortable, and no distractions. So what if I have to wait 5 months for home media? I'll gladly wait so I don't have to put up with theater BS. And listen, Nick, you are simply expressing the frustration that a lot of people have. You're expressing the frustration that a lot of people are having right now. Now, I will, let me tell you what I disagree with you first, and then let's talk about what I wholeheartedly agree with you about. To me, it doesn't matter. Like, I've got a 75-inch TV hanging over the fireplace. It's a great TV. I got a great surround sound system, blah, blah, blah. That's nothing. That's nothing compared to a real movie theater experience. It's a joke. All these things that we have that we call our great home theater, they're jokes compared to a real theatrical experience. And to me, a real theatrical experience involves being in a giant auditorium with that truly big screen, not our insignificantly tiny little, like when we're measuring our screens in inches, then come on. I want screen measurements that we talk about in feet or yards. But when we're measuring our television in inches, it's a joke. I mean, our home theater systems are jokes. But part of me about the movie-going experience is a big auditorium, a truly big screen with big immersive sound and an audience of people together enjoying, like, oohing and awing and jumping and cheering and clapping and laughing and shocking and all that kind of stuff. That, to me, is the movie-going experience and can never be replicated in a pathetic little home environment. Can't be replicated. Never will be able to be replicated. That said, you ain't wrong, brother. You ain't wrong about what's going on. And it's just, again, it bugs me when somebody takes out a phone, and it bugs me when people are talking. I don't find it to be nearly as much of a problem as it was for me like 5 years ago. I just find it doesn't happen quite as often, but that's me. The fact that they continue to make it more and more difficult for us to come to the movies is problematic. Going to the movies is too expensive. Now, that's not just the movie theater's problem. That's also the movie studio's problem, because they're spending too much on making these movies. And so they need higher ticket prices to make up for how much money they're spending on these movies. And so the theaters have to raise the prices because they have to send more of the cut back to them. And it's a terrible system. I don't hold it against movie theaters for what they charge for sodas and candy and things like that. I don't hold that against them. It is expensive, but I don't hold it against them because I know, having worked there, that that's the only way they make money. They don't make any money off the ticket sales. The vast majority of the ticket sales money goes back to the distributor and to the studios. They just keep a fragment of the ticket money. And these are big, expensive places to operate. And the only way they break even is by charging a lot for the candy and stuff like that. And I get that. And I understand that. But it is still something they got to understand that, hey, it's expensive to come to our movie theaters. So let's give them the best movie theater experience possible. And a lot of theaters seem to have lost sight of that. And they're pretending like everybody would love to come to our movie theater. No, what movie theaters need to realize is that there's more people like you today, Nick, who are like, why the F should I come to your theater? If I'm not going to have a good experience, if you're not going to treat me like a king by coming to your theater and all that kind of stuff, if you're going to disrespect my time by telling me a movie starts at 7, but it doesn't really start till 7:31, if you're going to do all that, why should I come to your theater? And the theaters have got to start asking that question. The theaters have to start to be able to come up with something to answer us when we ask that question. Why should I come to your theater? Well, sir, we're glad that you asked. Here's why you should come to our theater. We're going to treat you with respect. We understand coming to the movies are expensive, and we get that, but we're going to make sure we give you every bit of value we can for that money, and you coming and investing your time and money and coming to the movies. We're going to respect your space by making sure you got enough leg room in your chairs. We're going to respect your time by, if we say the movie starts at 7, we are going to show you some trailers, but we're going to start that movie as close to 7 as we can. I mean, they have to start to being able to answer those questions that more and more people just like you, Nick, are starting to ask. And they need to start focusing on that. Again, basic leadership. What is our goal? Getting more people into the theater. Then everything we do in our organization needs to be funneling towards that goal. Does this item over here get us towards this goal? No? Then ignore that. Throw that away. Focus on things that are getting us towards our goal. Because Nick, my brother, more and more people just like you are asking these same questions. And we're not getting decent answers. We're not getting decent answers. They need to start reprioritizing. Anyway, Nick, thanks for sending that in, and I totally get your rant. Nick also then writes, I'm sorry, Mr. Campea, I just had to get that out. I totally get you, Nick. I totally get you. No apologies necessary, my friend. Nick also writes, Anywho, I really hope you're having a good weekend, man. I haven't asked in a while, but how are Lily and Shadow? I trust they are doing great. Well, as a matter of fact, Lily and Shadow are doing great. Where is my, here they are. Let me see if I can bring these. For those of you who don't know, Lily and Shadow are mine and Anne's dogs. They are our dogs, and we love our dogs very, very much, actually. As a matter of fact, here is, this one's Lily. That's Lily taking a little nap there. Just taking a little nap. Actually, I guess I can just close that out. There's Lily taking her nap. She's great. I love Lily. Let's see if I can find one with the two of them together. They certainly, their favorite thing, like most dogs, their favorite thing in the world is sleeping. Particularly if they get to snuggle up and sleep in between Anne and I. But here's a good one of them. Let me see if I can bring this one up here. There's Lily and Shadow laying in their bed. They're little dachshunds. Little dachshunds. Oh, I love these two. They're good little dogs. They're good little dogs. But anyway, thank you for asking. I appreciate, not everybody wants to ask about Lily and Shadow, so I'm sure they'd be thrilled to know people care. All right. Ike Moore writes, I agree with you, John. After a few years, Tony will be back. I know that will bother people, but Robert Downey Jr. and the MCU go hand in hand. Well, I mean, it's going to bother some people, but a lot of other people are like pissed off that they killed off Tony. They're like pissed off. I think killing off Tony was a good move. Narratively, it had great dramatic effect. But this is the Marvel Cinematic Fake Death Universe. They're going to bring Tony back. He's going to be back one way or the other. Maybe not in a year, maybe not in 3 years, but eventually he'll be back. And I'm glad you agree, Ike, because they just will. And I really don't think people will be upset by it. They won't. They've never been upset when they fake death people. I really don't think people will be upset. All right. Vault of the Future writes, hey, John. In my opinion, the horror genre is killing it this year. Not to me, brother. With Us, I was a little like, I liked Us, but it was like, I give it a thumbs up. In a thumbs up or thumbs down world, I give Us a thumbs up. But to me, it was a big step down from Get Out. I thought it was a big step down from Get Out. I didn't love Midsommar. Ready or Not is the one horror film this year I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed Ready or Not. It Chapter 2, I was disappointed with. Anyway, so yeah, I didn't find it to be a great year for horror myself, personally. What horror films are approaching in 2020 that you are looking forward to? Horror films that I'm looking forward to in 2020. Well, I mean, there's a couple. There's a new Conjuring, obviously, that's coming out. We've got Blumhouse said that the new Invisible Man is going to be straight up horror, so there's that one as well. If it does come out, I think A Quiet Place 2 will come out that same year, so there's that. Then there's that new Hansel and Gretel one, only it's now called Gretel and Hansel. So that looks interesting. I mean, nothing that's really jumping up at me and like, this is the can't miss horror film next year, unless, other than A Quiet Place. Because A Quiet Place, I just love the first one. So there's that one, but we'll have to see how that all goes. Vault of the Future also writes, to add to the rant salad, what's with people taking assigned seats? It's happened to me like 3 times this year. Either wrong row or wrong time, smack my head. It happens, but here's the nice thing. I have never once... I don't know if I can say never have I ever, but on the few occasions, first of all, it's never happened to me where I got to my theater and went to my seat to find somebody else sitting in my seat. It's never actually happened to me, I don't believe. But I have seen it happen a couple of times. Not often, just a couple of times. But the great thing about it is, I mean, there's no disputing it. Excuse me, sir, like what normally happens, what I've seen happen is, I think you're in our seats. Are you sure? I have L5. Yes, sir, this is M5. Oh, this is M5. Yes. Oh, okay. And it's usually just very quickly and very easily handled. I mean, and ultimately it's a minor inconvenience. But hey, here's the thing though. A lot of movie theaters now, like if you walk in when the trailers have started, you know, it's dark in the theaters. Maybe you don't quite see the numbers clearly and you accidentally go to the wrong row or sit in the wrong seat or whatever. But to me, like I said, on the very rare occasion I've seen it happen, it's usually resolved pretty quickly and pretty easily. So it's usually not that big of a deal. All right, let's move on here. Willow Yang writes, who's your favorite live action incarnation of Lex Luthor? I love Michael Rosenbaum. I stopped watching Smallville after he left the show. He was a very good and very different kind of Lex Luthor. Then again, everything about Smallville was very different from the traditional Superman lore. I don't want to be stereotypical, but I gotta go Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman, to me, like when I think Lex Luthor, if you want to know who is your quintessential Lex Luthor, just think about Lex Luthor and who's the first face that pops in your head. For me, that's Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman to me is the quintessential Lex Luthor. And you know what the funny thing is? I'm really not a Jesse Eisenberg fan. But I liked his Lex Luthor. And that's funny because everybody hated Lex Luthor in Batman versus Superman. I actually like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. And I'm not a big Jesse Eisenberg fan. And yet I kind of dug it. So that, but yeah, Willow, I got to tell you, I liked Michael Rosenbaum as well. Don't be surprised if he ends up being in this CW crossover as well, because they've already got Tom Welling. They've got Erica Durant's coming back as Lois Lane. I will not be surprised at all if we find out Michael Rosenbaum is coming back to play Lex Luthor. I'm not going to be surprised in the least. But yeah, for me, Lex Luthor is and always will be Gene Hackman. All right. Trebek7 writes, hey, John, longtime fan, first super chat. Well, thank you so much, Trebek, for being a fan for so long. I appreciate that, brother. Never knew you were a South Park fan. Can't help it. I mean, look, South Park can be a little hit and miss. There are episodes of South Park that are like, what were they thinking with that? But then like they'll put up the next episode and I'll be rolling on the ground holding my guts laughing so hard. My favorite show on TV. How do you feel about their portrayal of Canadians on the show? Thanks. Keep up the great work. I think their portrayals of Canadians are hilarious. I think it's hilarious. And even when you get into their games, they'll like have Canadian sub things with games like the Bishop of Banff and stuff like that. I find the way they do Canadians hilarious. I really do. Actually, one of my favorite things South Park has ever done was their whole Canada on strike episode. Remember that? Well, Canada on strike. It's time we say no more. Yeah, I love it because it's done in good fun. They make fun of, yeah, but South Park makes fun of themselves. They make fun of everybody. South Park makes fun of everybody, including Canadians. And I think it's done really fun. And I think it's very funny. And I think it's hilarious. So I like it. I like it myself. I like the way they do the Canadian stuff. All right. The Sock writes, looked at what's playing at the Belcourt Theater just because I was curious. They have a movie, La Fleur, that's 807 minutes excluding intermissions. I've never heard of La Fleur. Let me look this up here. What's it called? La Fleur. There's a 2018 movie. It is a drama fantasy musical. I've never heard of it. And apparently the runtime is 808 minutes. And just so I don't have to bother with math in my head, hey, Google, what is 808 divided by 60? See what that is.
The answer is approximately 13.467.
13 and a half hours. That's a season of television that they just slammed and said it's a movie. I mean, it must be. That's the only thing. I can only imagine that they thought they were making a TV series. And then they said, you know what? Let's just edit it all together and make it a movie. Who goes to that? Who's going to a 13 and a half hour movie? That's crazy, Sock. All right. Jersey Kid writes, I need a dog in this fight. I know Khabib is a great fighter, but do you think he could have beat Royce Gracie while they were both in their prime? No problem. No problem. You got to understand mixed martial arts has evolved. Royce Gracie was simply the baddest man on the planet in his era. But because of Royce Gracie, mixed martial arts evolved. Like Royce Gracie could never strike. He was never a striker. And if you're a one-dimensional fighter today, you're dead. Khabib can do it all. He can outstrike Conor McGregor. He can outgrapple Olympic gold medal wrestlers. He's just the baddest man on the planet. And there's no doubt that because of Royce Gracie, mixed martial arts has evolved, and Khabib Nurmagomedov is the byproduct of that. it's no question. It would be less than a round. He would destroy Hoist Gracie inside of a round. There's no question about that. Absolutely no question, because the sport has evolved. But it has evolved, like, so everybody bend a knee to Hoist Gracie and the whole Gracie clan. Bend a knee. It's because of him that the sport evolved. But as it did, yeah, Hoist would have no chance against a Khabib Nurmagomedov. Not a chance. Static Space Sean writes, will we ever have a Nick Cage assance? It's possible, because he's just, like, everybody forgets with all the craziness and the silliness, this guy's an Academy Award winning actor. Multi-time nominated. Actually, let me just look that up. I believe he was nominated at least twice. Nicolas Cage. I believe he was nominated at least twice. So let me see if I can find his awards thing here. Yeah, he was nominated for Best Actor twice. He won Best Actor for Leaving Las Vegas, obviously, in 1996. And then he was nominated again for Best Lead Actor for Adaptation. And he could have been nominated a third or fourth time. He is a fabulous actor. And being a fabulous actor, we could have one. I'm not going to sit here and put money on it and say that we will, but it's very possible. Because when you're asking, is it possible for somebody to have a resurgence, my question is, are they extremely talented? And if they are, then the potential's there. Captain Dirk Diggler writes, oh no, I'm getting old. I saw Rambo Last Blood last night and made it through towards the scene where Rambo is making preparations. Not trying to spoil, but it's before the third act. Not a big deal. We see it in the trailer. We see in the trailer Rambo making preparations. Then guess what? I had a bowel attack and I had to go to the restroom. Am I kidding? I got back, only saw the final scene of Rambo's melee. Meanwhile, my wife tells me that I missed the highlights of the day. I missed the highlights, damn. And yeah, the last act of the film. And Rambo's not that long. Rambo Last Blood isn't that long of a movie. But everything, all the big payoff, all the big action happens in the third act. And that's where it is. So that sucks. That sucks. Like, I know if I'm sitting in a movie, here's my advice, Dirk. If I'm sitting in a movie and we get about halfway through the movie, I know I'm not in the most important time of the movie. And I'll do a mental check. Do I even remotely have to go to the bathroom right now? And if the answer is yes, most of the time it's no, but if the answer is yes, yeah, I think in a bit I'm going to have to go to the bathroom, then I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to go to the bathroom, drain what I can drain, so I'll at least be able to get through to the end of the movie. Because I know the third act of the movie is where everything starts to come together and has its payoff, right? So what I would suggest, Captain, is do that. Get about halfway through, check the runtime of a movie before you go in. Then around the halfway mark, ask yourself the question, do I remotely have to go to the bathroom? And if so, bite the bullet right now so you don't have to miss third act stuff, because that's the most important stuff you're going to miss. It's okay for most movies if you miss a couple of minutes in the middle. You don't want to miss stuff in the third act. You don't want to miss that stuff. So a little bit of prep, Captain. Sorry you missed the good stuff, because that is where the best stuff in Rambo Last Blood is. So unfortunately, you did probably miss some of the best stuff. Go on out and see it again, though. Going out and see it again. I think it's worth watching just for the third act. All right, thanks for sending that in, and sorry you had that experience, brother. All right, Snake Jerusalem writes, where are we at here? I recommend you try Hitman 2 for PS4. It focuses on exploration / planning over action. It could be a good way to wire your brain for the controllers. See, Snake, you're right on. That's the type of thing I need to hear. Because I bring it up all the time. I've got a PS4 Pro. I got my controller. Why is your controller here, John? Because I've got my wireless so I can control my PS4 from my computer, so I can sit here and actually play PS4 games on my computer, even though the PS4 itself is in my bedroom. Anyway, the problem is I'm not wired. My brain is not wired for console controllers. My brain is wired for mouse and keyboard. But something like that may exactly be like something that I need, Snake. By the way, let me ask you guys this, because I feel terrible about this. A couple of people recommended a particular game. Do you guys remember this? There were a number of people who recommended one particular game that is a PS4 game that said this is a great game to get yourself used to a console controller. If any of you guys can remember what that was, If any of you can remember what that game was that people were recommending, I said, oh, that sounds good. Can you email that to me? Just john@thejohncampeashow.com. I would be very grateful if you would, because I'm getting this close to throwing my PS4 away because I'm just not using it. And I would love, I invested money into getting it. I would love to try it out. I'd love to get in there and try it out. But I just, yeah. Anyway, by the way, I just noticed that because there was a couple of captains in a row, I missed Cap's third message there. So let me go back into that. Rambo Last Blood is not a bad movie. There are some logic problems. Oh, there are some logic problems in it, brother. There are some logic problems in it. Rambo is not a racist. Not all of Mexico is bad. Plot steers the viewers to the underbelly of human trafficking and criminals. No, look, there are critics who don't like this movie, and that's fine. There are critics who don't like this movie just because they don't think it's that good of a movie. And that's fine, because I don't think it's that good of a movie either. That's fine. But I've read a couple of critics that, you made a movie where Mexicans are the bad guys. You can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can make anybody the bad guys. I've seen tons of movies where people, like guys like me, the pasty white Anglo-Saxon white dudes are the bad guys. I've seen lots of movies with that. I've seen lots of movies where my heritage, Italians, are the bad guys. Lots of movies like that. I've seen movies where there are black people, Asian people, Mexican people, white people, whatever, are the bad. Why can't they be the bad guys? Of course they can be the bad guys. Let them be the bad guys. I never felt for a second that the movie ever painted everybody from Mexico as a bad guy. They never did that. Anybody and everybody can be the bad guy. Why not? I don't understand that at all. It's like, you shouldn't have done this. You know what? How about you just stick? This is what I would say to some film critics. Why don't you just stick to tell us if you thought it was a good movie or not, instead of tell everybody what they're supposed to put in movies and what they're not supposed to put in movies? How about you just tell people if you enjoyed it or not? And if you didn't, you didn't, and that's fine. No problem. Nothing wrong with that. But if you didn't like it because they didn't do what I thought was the correct thing they should have done in today's culture and society, shut up. Their role is not to tell their roles are to tell stories, all right? And not that fit into the pre-shaped, fabricated notions of what you think should be there. And thankfully, the vast majority of film critics don't do that. The vast majority of film critics just honestly tell you whether they liked a movie or not and why they liked it or not. And that's great. But I have read with the Rambo thing just a couple of film critics who are like, they're jumping on because, well, they did this in the movie and they shouldn't have done that. It's like, shut up. Shut up. Make Canadians the bad guy. Make Italians the bad guy. Make Asian people the bad guys. Make Latino people the bad guys. Make white people the bad guys. Make black people the bad guys. Make Native Americans the bad guys sometimes. Make Germans the bad guys. Make everybody can be bad guys. Make everybody bad guys. I don't have a problem with it personally, but that's just me. Still not a great movie. I didn't think Rambo Last Blood was a great movie, but it was a movie of simple pleasures. The simple pleasure of a hero doing horrible, inhumane things to horrible people. There's a little bit of visceral satisfaction that comes from that as a film audience member. And unfortunately, Cap, that's the part you missed, unfortunately. Anyway, get back there and see it again when you get a chance. All right. Mike Hill writes, I just wanted to say thank you all for all that you do. You go all out for us, even at the expense of your voice sometimes. My son will be named after you. Well, thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. And if you're going to name after me, name after my real name. My real name is actually Giovanni. I think most of you guys probably know. My real name is Giovanni. That's why sometimes you see people write in something that say Gio. What that is my actual real name is Giovanni. So there you go. So if you're going to name your kid after me, name him Giovanni. And the reason that's important to me is because I am named after my grandfather, who is still alive. My grandfather, who's a great man, Giovanni Campea, came over on the boat, established a life here, then got a little bit of money together, got a job, then sent for his wife and his 4 children, and his wife and his 5 children came over. My dad came over when he was just like 15 or 16 years old. My My dad, Pasquale. It's just like, if you ever doubt how Italian my family is, I always joke about this. My grandfather came over with his brothers. And my grandfather and his brothers' names are as follows. Giovanni, Romolo, Sagallo, and Vincenzo. Those are that's my grandfather and my great uncles. Then there was my dad, who's Pasquale. And the youngest in his family is my Uncle Paul. And then their sisters, Leonora, Pina, Maria, and Susan, are my dad's sisters. So yeah, there it is. I don't get to see my family enough. I love this job, and I love this gig, and I really like LA. I really do. I like LA. Ann and I live in Burbank. I really love this town. And there are a lot of things I like about being here. But there's not a day that goes by that I don't miss home. And I am not, like a lot of Italian men, I think, I am emotionally stunted when it comes to expressing emotion. I'm no good. I'm not very good at all at letting my mom and my dad know this, so it's cool with them, but I'm not very good at all. I've never been good at expressing how I feel about people, unless you're pissing me off. But I've never been really good at expressing how I feel about people to them. And I don't nearly tell my siblings, like my sisters and my brother, who I admire all three of them so much. I've got two sisters and one little brother. How much I admire them and how proud I am of all of them. And it's this strange. I have an easier time. How did we get on this? I have no idea how we got on this topic, but I'll finish my thought and then we'll move on. I don't know why I can say that on my show, but I'm not very good at saying that personally. But I am always so proud of my sisters, and the way they have dealt with situations they've had in their lives and the way they deal with life as a whole. I'm so proud of my brother. I'm very proud of my brother. I won't go into all the reasons why, but it's just one of those things. I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there that are the same as me, that we know how we feel about things, but sometimes when it comes to expressing our feelings and emotions about particular people, particularly people that are important to us, I'm not very good at it. I'm not very good at it at all, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I'm not good at it. And I should do it more. Mental note, get a hold of my sister and my brother. Anyway, that all came up because you said you're going to name your kid after me. But make sure you name it. If you're going to do it, name Giovanni so it honors my grandfather as well. Anyway, thanks so much for the kind words, Mike. I really appreciate it. All right, where are we at here? Let's see. David? No. Dark Jedi Sa writes, get rid of one forever, the Force or lightsabers? Oh, the lightsabers. Yeah. Because without the Force, anybody can pick up a lightsaber and just wing it around. I mean, the Force is the key essential element of what makes Jedi and Sith. The lightsabers are their chosen weapon. I don't want to get rid of either, but if I had to get rid of one, I'm getting rid of lightsabers. All right, David Sickles writes, Ad Astra is James Gray's fourth consecutive film with 80+% on Rotten Tomatoes, but 60% or lower audience score. Yeah, I loved Ad Astra so much that I want to check out Lost City. I liked Lost City. Lost City was one of the ones, and I believe it's got a great cast. And it's a good film. So that's one of the reasons I was actually looking forward to Ad Astra. But anyway, David, that's a really interesting stat you just pulled. I didn't realize that. That's a really, really interesting stat. Like, I'm a sports guy, so I like stats. I like stats and trends and analyzing that stuff. So it's little stuff like this, David, that you just put in there that I really, really like. So I got to look into that because that's a really, really cool stat if that's the case. Thanks for sharing that, David. And I'm glad you liked Ad Astra. I wish I did too, man. All right, Dirk Walker writes, finally got around to watching The Boys. Nice. I thought it would just be superheroes being violent and vulgar, but it's such a great show beyond that. That's the thing. It is a show that... yes, it's superheroes doing very, very bad things. Yes, but it transcends that and gets into deeper stuff. And I'll never forget, I was already impressed with it before the airplane scene. I'm not going to give anything away. Just for those of you who've seen the show, you know what I mean by the airplane scene. And I watched it and I thought, this emotionally is striking tones that I never thought a show like this could strike. And it just really makes me even more impressed with that show, Dirk. It really does. I'm glad you got around to watching it, brother. All right, David Sickles writes, of Z and The Immigrant, which should I watch first? Well, I'm assuming you mean by The Immigrant, the Joaquin Phoenix film. Yeah, I didn't love that movie, to be honest with you. I didn't hate it. Didn't think it was bad, but I watched it once. I'll probably never watch it again. I don't know what you mean by Z. If you mean World War Z, I enjoyed, I'm not sure why we comparing those two, but I would lean towards World War Z. I actually quite enjoyed World War Z. And I liked it more than I did The Immigrant. Oh, some terrific performances, all that kind of stuff. But I would lean towards World War Z if that's the film you're referring to. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, I went on the much-hated Fast and Furious ride at Universal Studios. I happen to like the Fast and Furious ride at Universal Studios. Whatever. I kind of liked it. And it's nice to see me again. I liked it too, Ryan. I don't get why it gets why people give it a hard time. I dig it too. I have a good time with it. Anyway, the Joker writes, Happy Batman Day. Let's put a smile on that face. Is it Batman Day? Is that a real thing? Hold on a second. Let me look this up. Batman Day. Is that a thing? The Batman Day, apparently, according to the interweb, is the third Saturday of September, which is today. I didn't know that. How did I not know that? It's Batman Day, everybody. I'm Batman. It's Batman Day. Well, I see, Joker, I'm learning something new every day. Now let's put a smile on that face. And you got Nicolas Cage in your thumbnail. I like that. Sam Phillip writes, less than 2 weeks until Joker. Send in the clowns. I'm very excited. I had somebody writing, it's like, when are you going to go see the Joker? I said, I'm going to go see it opening night. I'm not going to go to a press screening. I'm going to go see this thing opening night. And I'm very excited for it. I cannot wait for this movie. Curtis Lopez writes, one of two. Best picture predictions: Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Bombshell, The Farewell, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Just Mercy, Knives Out, Marriage Story, Parasite, and Peanut Butter Falcon. I mean, whew, man, I'm telling you, as we get, this happens every year, as we are getting further and further into the year, the conversation of which films are going to get Best Picture nominations gets more and more complicated because more and more amazing films start to emerge. So all of the ones you just mentioned, Curtis, I think got legitimate shots. Now, there are a couple on the list that I haven't seen. For instance, I haven't seen Joker yet. I haven't seen Just Mercy. I haven't seen Knives Out. I haven't seen Peanut Butter Falcon, but just because of the reputation, the buzz, and what we're getting out of the festivals, and we're starting to get a picture about which films are going to be in that conversation, and those are all ones that are in the conversation, man. I'm very excited about Knives Out, by the way. Really stoked for that one. All right, Connor Farley writes, has any production status update been made on Scorsese's Roosevelt? I haven't heard anything. With Leo, is it still going ahead after Killers of the Flower? I haven't heard a thing. And I mean, the easiest thing to do is just to go over and check out, seeing what they're saying about Martin Scorsese over on his thing there. Now, as of right now, he still has, let's see, as a director, he's got like 5 or 6 films coming up as a producer. But as a director, he still has Killers of the Flower Moon listed. They're saying that's in pre-production. So I guess that's moving ahead. And then Roosevelt is still just sitting on being listed as announced. That's all they've still got on that, is just announced. So other than that, dude, you and I are in the same boat. I've heard nothing else at this point. Nothing else at this point. But we'll talk about it once we find out more. All right, Pool of Dead writes, top 5. Dunkirk, love Dunkirk. Number 4, Inglourious Bastards. Number 3, Dark Knight. Number 2, The Social Network. And number 1, Wolf of Wall Street is the GOAT. Irishman, please be good. Again, speaking about Martin Scorsese, there's a Martin Scorsese there. I really like Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not in my top 20 or anything like that of all time, but it is a great movie. And Martin Scorsese on the roll. I still don't know what to think about Irishman. I mean, I'm keeping my hopes up. Pool of Dead. I am. But it's just certain little things that make me nervous. I don't know why, and I don't know what it is specifically, but, I didn't love the trailer. I didn't think the trailer was all that special. But then again, it was just a first teaser, so, I'll wait till we get a better picture stuff. But I'm with you, Pool of Dead. Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. All right. Ariel Sandoval writes, Infinity Saga box set announced. Is this true? I believe it is. I think Kevin Feige confirmed it, I believe. I'm not a physical media guy, so I'm not buying it anyway, but I believe it's true. I think so. Dim05 writes, what's worse, Ticketmaster or ticket scalpers? Hashtag Satan. Well, here's the thing. For the first time ever, I got scammed by a scalper. This was last year. I bought tickets to a Star Wars concert, and I got taken. Lost my money, and I didn't get any tickets. I didn't get legitimate tickets. At least with Ticketmaster, and there's another one that I use. There's another ticketing service I use. But anyway, at least with that, you're getting what you're paying for. So while there are ridiculous, excessive service fees and all that kind of stuff associated with these ticket sales services like Ticketmaster, at least at the end of the day, you're getting a ticket to the show. And with scalpers, you just never know for sure, man. You never know for sure. All right, Ariel Sandoval writes, Marvel What If Episode 1, Terrence Howard stayed on as War Machine. Woo, that's one of the big dramas that nobody at Marvel likes to talk about anymore. The whole drama about losing Terrence Howard, that was all too bad. I like Terrence Howard. All right, James Bonner writes, saw Astro the other night, and you probably meant Ad Astra. That was probably an autocorrect. Saw Ad Astra the other night, and John, are you awake? Yeah. Anyway, all jokes aside, I actually liked it okay. It won't hit my top 10 or even top 25, but overall it worked okay for me. I wish it did for me too. I just found there's a lot of good elements in it, you know what I mean? Again, with the deep questions, both on a universal level and on a personal level, huge stakes, but it was so unforgivingly dull. That's what it was. It was just so unforgivingly dull to me. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, brother. I'm glad you had a good time with it. And again, I'm assuming you meant Ad Astra and not Astro, because I'm not familiar, unless you're talking about Astro Boy. All right, James Boner. Then you corrected it. Ad Astra. No problem, James. I got you. But thank you for clarifying regardless. Dan Ketchum writes, oops, sorry guys, had a bit of a jump. Do 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 la 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 la. Do 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 do. Here we go. Okay. Dan Ketchum writes, could theaters also do boxing matches? Yeah, theoretically. I mean, if they pay a fee to whoever, the rights holders are and, do those things I went to go see a boxing match in a movie theater once. So yeah, it's theoretically can be done. It's just that you have to acquire the rights, make arrangements, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it can be done, and it has been done. Suthius writes, Mr. C trailer for Gooby Goobies is not out yet. Should we worry? Yeah, don't worry. Trailer's coming, Suthius. Trailer's coming. Suthius writes, I can't stand it when there's not hot water. Okay, so what that's coming from is I saw Downton Abbey the other night. And I've told you guys before, who hasn't seen Downton Abbey, that Downton Abbey as a show always had this incredible ability to make the smallest mundane things be the center of drama about an episode. Like, we do not know where Lord Grantham's favorite black shoes are. Bum, 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 right? And it's like, and somehow you as an audience member get bought. It's like, this is important. And that's the center of the drama, right? And coming out of the Downton Abbey movie last night, one of the things I said is, like, one of the big dramatic things is the hot water boiler is not working properly. There's no hot water in the rooms. Bah, 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 bah. And it becomes this big key plot point throughout. It's like, oh my gosh, will they get the hot water fixed in time for the party? And it's like, it's such a mundane thing, and yet you're in the audience and you're totally getting wrapped up in it. It did a really good job on that. I got to tell you, look, I'm not saying Downton Abbey is going to be in my top 10 films of the year. It's pretty enjoyable. And yes, because the hot water is out. Fuzzy FJ writes, I watched Captain Phillips for the first time last night. Oh my God, Tom Hanks acting at the end had me convinced he was actually traumatized. You know what? And everybody was shocked that year. It was a stacked year. But Tom Hanks did not get nominated for Best Actor in that movie. And shocked everybody. But again, that wasn't because the Oscars were disrespecting Tom Hanks, because they love Tom Hanks, obviously. But it was just a really stacked year. And you're right, that final scene when he's sitting in that med bay. Oh, if you have any doubt about just how good of an actor Tom Hanks is, listen to Fuzzy. Just go watch that last scene because oh my God, there's no doubting the powers of Tom Hanks after watching that scene. Topher Rocks writes, what's your favorite phrase to poke fun at? Avengers Assemble or there's gonna, yeah, there's two lines delivered badly. But I'll at least say Avengers Assemble is a line that we wanted to hear. And it was a line that should have been said in that moment in the movie. I just don't like the way they had him say it. That's all. Avengers Assemble. And I just want everybody, I want there to be a cut of the movie where everybody gathered behind them goes, what was that, Cap? Huh? Did you say something? Yeah, I said Avengers Assemble. Still can't hear you, Cap. Did you say charge or, but that was better than the horrible, forced, out of place final line and the way it was said. And I love Woody Harrelson, but at the end in the post credit of Venom, having Woody Harrelson, there's going to be carnage. It's like, okay, yes, we get it. You become Carnage. God, seriously? Anyway, so I make fun of Gonna Be Carnage a little bit harsher, I think. BMC writes, quick question on Rotten Tomatoes. When a critic sends their review, do the people at Rotten Tomatoes read it and decide whether it's fresh or rotten? No. When you are putting in a review, I mean, it might happen if you forget to select fresh or rotten. But when I'm on Rotten Tomatoes now, this just happened recently. But when I go to the page to register my review for a movie, one of the fields is that I select whether it counts as a fresh or a rotten. Now, if you forget or don't, I think they might ascribe one to it. But yeah, every time I've gone in and done it, it's just that I put in whether it's fresh or rotten. So that's generally how it's done. There might be some exceptions, but that is generally how it's done. That I, as the individual critic, I register on the site whether it is a fresh or a rotten review. All right, Noel Nguyen writes, now that France ruled Valve has to allow reselling of digital licenses of video games, do you think this will affect the digital movie licenses? Well, I know nothing about that situation, Noel. I know nothing about that situation. So I have no idea what the details are, because I can't just sit here and give a blanket yes or no. That I have no idea what the details are, what the ramifications are. I have no knowledge at all of that. I'm not a video game industry guy, so I have no knowledge of that at all. So I can't possibly give any sort of opinion about if I do think it will or will not affect an industry outside of it. So I just can't give an opinion on that, unfortunately. Something I'll look into though. Thomas Kellner writes, hey, John, we at our, let me try this again. Hi, John. We at our biggest cinema chain event cinemas have to deal with 30 to 35 minutes of advertising. Really, they have to joking. I think what you're saying, hi, John, we are at biggest cinema chain, Event Cinemas. So I'm guessing wherever you are, the biggest cinema chain is called Event Cinemas. We have to deal with 30 to 35 minutes of advertising. Really, they have to be joking. I am in, and dude, your little emoji there is so appropriate. I am in the exact same boat as you. It is ridiculous. It is a joke. And by the way, Thomas, thank you for this is a large super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level, my friend. It's utterly preposterous. Now, I propose a law, and I said this on my show the other day, but I'll repeat it here. Fine. You want to play 30 minutes of commercials? Fine. I propose there should be a law to protect consumers. And that is simply this, that movie theaters are required to list 2 start times. List presentation start time, 7 p.m., and then you also have to list the actual start time of the movie. So you can say, tonight, Ad Astra, presentation begins at 7, movie begins at 7:29. You have to put that in. You can say your presentation starts, that includes your commercials and your trailers. You say the overall presentation starts at 7, but you have to list when the movie starts. Movie schedule start time, 7:31, 7:27, 7:25, 7:40, whatever it is. I believe there should be a rule and a law. I think a law, because you're supposed to pass laws that protect consumers. We are the consumers. Theaters are taking advantage of us. They're telling us the movie starts at 7 when it really doesn't start till 7:35. That's unacceptable. So they should be required to tell us when the presentation starts, but also tell us the actual start time of the movie. Do that and we're good. Do that and we're good. You want to do 2 hours of trailers? Knock yourself out. As long as you tell me and put in all the listings, presentation starts at 7, movie starts at 9:01. Fine, then we're good. Then I know I can show up at 9:01. And if I want to come and watch the trailers, I can show up at 7 o'clock or 7:30, whatever. But I think that should be a rule. You want to do that? Knock yourself out. Show all the trailers and commercials you want to show. But you should be forced to list when the movie actually starts. That's my proposal at that rate anyway, Thomas. So sorry to hear that you guys have to put up with that down there, dude. 30 to 35 minutes is unacceptable. All right. Noel Nguyen writes, do you think this will make studios double down on their streaming services instead of offering people to buy their products through Google? I know nothing about the situation, Noel. So I feel bad that you've asked a follow-up question. I don't know anything about this situation, so I can't offer an opinion on it at this point. Noel Nguyen writes, I paid for Regal Unlimited for a year, so I can't boycott them. But you're damn sure they will hear my dissatisfaction regarding commercials every time I go. And yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, Noel, because you bought it for a year, so you're stuck with them for a year. But the other thing is a lot of people don't live close to a big Regal, a big Cinemark, a big AMC, a big Landmark, a big Alamo Draft House, a big whatever. Most people don't live within a reasonable distance of all the major movie chains, right? So a lot of people live, it's like the only movie theater within a half hour of where I live is a Regal Cinema. Or the only movie theater I live within a half hour of me is AMC. So a lot of people just don't have a choice. But then what you got to do is you got to make sure they know you are not unhappy. And what that means is when you're going to the next movie, say, I'd like to speak to the manager, please. Or the manager on duty, please. And be polite. This is the thing. It's one thing for me to rant and rave when I'm on my show, but if you go in there in person, be polite and say, excuse me, I would like to speak to the manager in charge tonight, please. Whoever the manager in charge tonight is, please. I have a concern about the theater, and I'd like to just express my concern to the manager, please. They will get you the manager or the assistant manager on duty that night. And say, hey, I just want to say I'm a movie fan. I love coming to the movies. But I wanted to express personally that I'm very unhappy with how big of a time difference there is between the movie advertised time and when the movie actually starts. And I appreciate that you guys are doing the best jobs you can, and I appreciate that. But I want to communicate to you that I have made the decision that I'm going to be coming to less movies. Because, you tell me the movie starts at 7 when it really doesn't start till 7:25, 7:30, 7:35. And again, be overly polite, because that manager is not the one making the decisions, or that assistant manager isn't the one making the decisions. It's not their fault. Be nice to them. But just say, as a customer here, I like coming to the movies, but this is an unacceptable situation, and I just want to express so you can pass it along that I've made the decision that over the next few months, I'm going to come to less movies because you guys are making it more and more inconvenient for me to do so. So if you could pass that along to whoever it needs to go to, Thank you for your service here in the movie theater, doing the best job you can to make us have a good movie going experience. And I appreciate you. Say that to them. Say that you appreciate them. And thank you for your time. And then move on. Be nice. Be polite. These are nice people. These managers, associates, they're just doing their jobs. They're just trying to do the best they can and then go home at the end of the night to their families. Be nice to them. Be polite to them. But take Noel's advice here. Make sure that if you are unhappy about the current state of things, that you express it to them in a polite manner. And if enough people start to do it, they will have to take notice. They will have to take notice. Anyway, thanks for that, Noel. Okay. Craig Weldon writes, hey, is it true you're below average down there? What an idiot. But thank you for sending me your money. I appreciate that. Min Tran, I always like it when somebody wants to give me money just so they can be an ass. That's great. I'll enjoy it. Thank you very much. Min Tran writes, ad Astra yesterday, most bore I've ever been at a theater. Every especially Brad is so monotone. It's very, very monotone. If the character doesn't seem interested, why should I? Here's the thing about that. Brad Pitt is great in the movie. He really makes me buy the character. The problem is the character, like for those of you who haven't seen the movie, I kid you not. I'm doing my psych eval. My blood pressure's at this. I'm going to Mars. Space travel's always been part of my dream. Every single line by direction is said in the exact same time. There's no dynamic range to the movie. The movie has no dynamic range. And the one little action scene that's in the trailers, the space buggies, is a completely shoehorned in, completely unnecessary scene in the movie that has no impact on the movie whatsoever. None. They literally could have taken that scene out of the movie and it wouldn't have changed anything about the movie. It wouldn't have changed a thing about the movie. And so thus it was like basically totally unnecessary, completely unnecessary. All right. Garrett Couch writes, where am I at here? Garrett Couch writes, as one of the half who liked The Last Jedi, I have to say the heel turn of Kylo would have popped more had they cut out the shot of the lightsaber turning. Cut right to smoke. Cut right to smoke. Oh, you mean Snoke. Okay. Cut right to Snoke's shocked face. Was the heel turn good enough to you? Yes. Yes. The problem is, here's the problem with that scene for me, Garrett. And by the way, thank you for the super chat, man. That's a really generous one. The problem for me as an individual was this. You guys will remember about a year before The Last Jedi came out, maybe about 10 months before The Last Jedi came out. If you guys have followed me that long, I was still back at the last place that I worked. And I said, I have just found out the granddaddy of all spoilers for the upcoming Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. And I said, I'm going to tell it. I think it was Josh McCouga was there. So I'm going to tell Josh McCouga off camera. So someday he'll verify that this was it. But I'm not going to say what it is, but I'll tell it to Josh McCouga. So later in a year, he can verify that this was the big spoiler. And the big spoiler in question was, I had a source over Lucasfilm tell me that Snoke dies in the next one, and it's Kylo Ren that kills him. And that was the big spoiler I had found out. So it's tough for me, Garrett, to answer that because I knew what was going to happen in that scene. So I don't know right now how I would have reacted or how I would have experienced the scene and how they unfolded it and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how I would have reacted to it had I not had previous knowledge. The problem is I had previous knowledge. Now, I'll at least say this. Having already knew what happened, and so none of it was surprising me, on that level that only I was in, the scene did work for me. On that level, the scene did work for me. Because what I have found with a lot of audiences is that if you don't give them a little indication of what's going on, a lot of people will complain about, that came out of nowhere, and So I get it. So you give them a little hint of what's going on visually and then it happens. So, but again, I might feel exactly the same way you do, Garrett, if I didn't know about it in advance. If I had just sat there and experienced it for the first time on screen like everybody else did, I might have felt the exact same way as you. But I can't say that for sure because I didn't experience that way. I experienced it having already known what happened, so it's difficult to say. But I bet you're not alone in that, Garrett. I bet you're not alone in that. All right, guys, listen. We've been going over an hour, about an hour and 15 minutes right now, and we're going to take a little break. I'm going to take a 5-minute break here, rest the vocal cords, stretch the legs, refill my drink, all that kind of good stuff. So if you will indulge me and hang in there with me for about 5 minutes, feel free to talk amongst yourselves. I am going to go take a little bit of a break, and we'll be right back. We're going to pick up with Min Tran. As soon as we get back, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Hang tight. And we are back. Thank you guys for taking the indulgence. Let me go refill up my drink, stretch my legs a bit, rest the vocal cords a bit, and we're ready to dive right back in. So let's get to it here. Min Tran writes, just saw Good Boys, cringy but in a good way. I loved Good Boys. I loved it. You're right, cringy but in a good way. It's like, oh my God, I laughed a lot in that movie. It's not a great movie overall. Like 40-Year-Old Virgin is hilarious and a great movie. Good Boys is not a great movie, but it's funny. It's really fun. I enjoyed watching it. All right, Suthius writes, from now on, word commercial will make you twitch a little bit. Suthius, not going to lie. Robert Perez writes, Reservoir Dogs, Backdraft, Star Wars. Oh, you're talking about your favorites. Reservoir Dogs, Backdraft. I love Backdraft. I haven't seen anybody else mention it so far. You go, we go. I love that movie, man. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Fight Club. First rule of Fight Club, Robert, is we don't talk about Fight Club. Casinema Reviews writes, 1 of 2. Regarding Garrett, I see your viewpoint, but then you'd get people calling it a plot hole and saying, but the lightsaber wasn't pointed towards him. I mean, that's kind of exactly what I was saying too, right, Casinema? It's like, when you don't give any indicators to the audience, sometimes they can complain the other way. But to Garrett's point, though, it is a fine line. It's a fine line between finding how much is too much, how much is not enough quite yet, and finding that balance. So, and again, it's difficult for me to have a valid opinion about it because I already knew what was happening going into it. And I'm not sure how I would have felt had I watched it just clean for the first time and how I would have felt about it. But it's an interesting question. But you're right. There would have been some people who'd say, that's a plot hole. The lightsaber wasn't pointed that way. It's true. There are people who would have said that. So is there a middle ground in between what they did and not showing anything? Is there something in between that could have served both purposes? I don't know. It's an interesting question, though. All right, Suthius writes, same with theme parks, money made from food and merch. Yeah. Well, when Disneyland charges you $100 a ticket to go in, they're making money off that ticket. They're making money off that ticket. But yeah, but then where they really get you is all the money you spend in the theme park. You're not wrong about that. Casinema Reviews writes, did I get the last one? I did. Casinema Reviews writes, haters have enough oversimplified complaints. Well, I mean, look, I'll tell you right now, I don't like the term hater. Because like whenever somebody says to me, why do you have to nitpick on movies so much? Just go and enjoy the movie. I want to say to them, so you've never said you don't like a movie? So I don't like the term hater. Look, everybody has movies they like and everybody has movies they don't like. It is what it is, but you're right. It probably would have been a point of contention had they not shown a little bit. So it's there. It's like I said, it's a tricky question. It's a tricky situation to know how to deal with. Django 19 writes, not particularly top 10, but some of my favorites. No Country for Old Men, 3:10 to Yum. I love when people add that in there. Dread, I'm going to assume you mean the new Dread. Looper, love Looper. Rush, Fury, Outsiders. Fury is great, by the way. Good Shia LaBeouf performance there. Hell or High Water and Moonlight. All fabulous movies. I remember coming out of Hell or High Water. I think I saw that one with Schnepp, actually. Didn't know what to expect out of the movie. I didn't think the trailers were great. But you had a terrific cast. Ben Foster, Chris Pine, Jeff Bridges. Great looking cast. Didn't know what to expect. Oh, came out and is like, what did I just see? That movie's so freaking good, man. I'm glad you got it on your list there, Django. All right. Jamier Scott writes, thoughts on Ryan Coogler and his filmography. He's great. I mean, he's knocking it out of the park so far. Creed was great. Fruitvale Station is great. Black Panther's great. He's wonderful. He's going to be in this business a long time. Fuzzy FJ writes, I saw a Facebook page called Turned Yellow where you can get turned into a Simpsons character. Could this be a marketing strategy by Disney? And could we be expecting something new from the Simpsons? I have no idea. I doubt they just put up a Facebook. Look, there have been people around, there have been services around a long time who will turn like a picture of you into a Simpsons portrait. There are many that do that. Those are out there. So a Facebook page doing it, I would have to see the Facebook page to know if, does this look like it's something that Disney has put together? I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Could they be looking to be doing something with The Simpsons new? I imagine they are. I've got to imagine they are to some point. To some degree, they must be. I don't think they got The Simpsons and thought, we'll just use their library catalog. They'll probably think of something new, and they will probably do another movie, but I've always heard that they are not going to do another movie until they're done with the series. Because they said it was just way too much trying to keep up with the series and doing a feature film. So, I mean, Groening has always said that they'll do another film someday, but it'll have to be after the series is done. So maybe they'll be looking at that. Who knows? We'll find out. I do love The Simpsons, though, a fuzzy. I really, really do. All right, David Tapia writes, just got tickets for Jay and Silent Bob reboot tour with Q&A and meet and greet. Nice. They're touring major cities. It's a good way to see Kevin Smith outside of San Diego Comic-Con. You know, I've been lucky enough. I've had the chance to bump into Kevin Smith. I've never really talked to him, though. Just so you know, I've never talked. The only time I've ever talked to Kevin Smith, well, okay, twice. Once was he and I were both being interviewed on the same radio show at the same time. So we weren't in the same room or anything like that. We were both remote. So I guess I sort of talked to him that one time. The other time was at the premiere for Big Hero 6. At the after party, I bumped into him and I had a chance to chat with him a little bit. But it's funny, being as I've been such a huge Kevin Smith fan for so long, I've never actually had a chance to actually really talk to him outside of that. I never have. I would love to. But that sounds like a good opportunity, David. I hope you have a good time, man. All right. 100T Pulse writes, so, in Star Wars Rebels, do you think that Ezra knew the events of the original trilogy and realized that neither he nor Thrawn could be around, and that's why he Nah, I never thought that at all. I personally, as I look back on it, and it's been a little while since I've seen the finale, granted, but as I look back on it, I never once, as an audience member, thought they were ever giving any sort of indication that that was what was in play. So, no, I don't think that was the case. I mean, something was going on, clearly, but I never thought they at any point were alluding to or foreshadowing or giving us any sort of a hint that he gained knowledge of the future and knew what was going to happen. I never got that sense. Now, that doesn't mean I'm right. I could totally be wrong about that. But I'm just saying I never got that sense or impression from them. So I'm going to guess no. But one never knows. One never knows. All right, Darklock63 writes, PS4 has great games. However, the controller sucks. Try an Xbox type controller for PS4. Far more intuitive and comfortable. They're all the same. I've had people tell me the PS4 controller is far superior. And people say, oh, the Xbox. They're the same freaking thing. They're all the same thing. They all got a bunch of buttons here, bunch of buttons there, two controllers, some buttons. They're all the same. I feel like I'm on crazy pills. But all my friends and gamer buddies, they all, no, PS4 controller's better. No, the Xbox controller's better. And I'm like looking at them both and going, are you crazy? They're the exact same freaking thing. Buttons over here, buttons over there, two joystick controllers, buttons up at the top. It's the exact same freaking thing. You know what I feel like? You ever see that classic Star Trek episode? There was this classic Star Trek episode where they pick up these two aliens. And where they're all white skin on one side, all black skin on the other, right? And one is a fugitive, the other is the law. And the one guy's chasing down the other guy. And they start talking about how the other guy's race is inferior. No, your race is inferior. No, your race is inferior. And finally, I think it was either Captain Kirk or Spock stops and goes, but okay, time out for a second. I don't get something here. You're both the same race. And they looked at Captain Kirk like he was an idiot. It's like, what are you talking about? My race is white on the left and black on the right. His inferior race is black on the left and white on the right. Now, of course, Captain Kirk was absolutely right. They're the exact same. Yeah, okay, yeah. This side was on this side, and that color's on that side. But they're the same thing. That's what I feel like when I hear my friends debating and discussing with each other about which controller's better, the PS4 or the. And as a matter of fact, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this show right now that are getting furious at me that I'm suggesting that they're both the same damn thing. But I'm looking at these. Yeah, controller here, controller there, joystick here, joystick there, buttons here, buttons here, buttons here, and buttons here. Yeah, they're the same thing. How dare you? That's what I feel like I'm getting. I feel like I'm on crazy pills. But anyway, there's that. But thank you for your recommendation, regardless, Dark. But to me, I just look at the exact same damn thing. So like when I look at the Stadia, Google's got Stadia coming out. And I look at the Google Stadia controller. It looks just like an Xbox controller, PS4. It looks the exact same. They all do the same thing, don't they? And right now, people are getting so mad at me. John, how dare you suggest that? But it is what it is. All right, Suthius writes, when you talk off screen, do you have a cutout of someone? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm sorry, Suthius. I'm not sure I'm following what you're asking. Arturo Mansuri writes, hey, John, watched as Snooze Fest. It was dull, falling asleep reviewing it, and the girl's friend in Rambo gave the worst acting performance of 2019. Yeah, I'm not going to give any spoilers away. But in Rambo, there's the girl, and the girl has a friend, and that friend was some pretty bad acting. Not gonna lie. It's some pretty bad acting. So you ain't wrong, Artur. You ain't wrong. Let's see. Suthius writes, wanted to name our first son Optimus. I love it. Wife said no. I don't blame her. It's one of those things where I get it. I love it. It's a fabulous idea. But but at the same time, I could totally get why the wife would say no. Optimus is not sure. Don't laugh. Optimus is a name me and Ann batted around for potentially the name of our first child whenever we have one. Was potentially Optimus. We landed on Skywalker. Boy or girl, our first kid's going to be named Skywalker. So, yeah, there's that. Jetfire97 writes, hey, John, I just bought my first comic book, Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. I wanted to learn a little bit before his movie comes out. I may get an Eternals one next. That's a great idea. See, that's one of the cool things about comic book movies. There are still not a lot of people that read comic books. It just is. But it is always neat to see that when a new comic book movie is coming, it does get some people turned on to the comic book. That's always good to see. And good on you for doing a little bit of background research on the character. That's a good idea, Jetfire. I like what you're doing. All right. Let's see here. Matt Thornton writes, watch the second part of Disenchantment. Looks like most people, I should say. I agree the first half was mediocre, though I thought the second half was a big step up, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes next. Disenchantment, is that the, hold on a second. Is that the cartoon show? Just want to make sure. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I tried to watch that. I tried watching Disenchantment. I got about 3 or 4 episodes in, and I'm like, this just isn't funny. It's just not funny. And I didn't like it at all. And I tapped out on it. I gave up on it. But you're saying that the second half gets better. See, here's the thing. I don't think it should be on us, the audience, to have to get through 3 hours of television to get to the good stuff. Heroes, the television show Heroes with Milo Ventimiglia. The first season of Heroes to this day remains my favorite single season of television ever. My overall favorite show of all time is Ronald D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica. But my favorite single season of television ever was the season 1 of Heroes. That show got you right from episode 1. And I think more of an onus should really be put on showrunners to make sure the first episode grabs you. But, I've got 12 episodes. I don't have to do too much. No. Grab the audience right away. You don't have to reveal everything in the first episode, but grab the audience right away. And I remember watching the first episode of Heroes and going, I am watching this forever. And, just being totally hooked on that right from the beginning. And too many shows are lazy and they're like, it's okay if we make the first 3 or 4 episodes crappy. We'll get to the good stuff later. Nah, it shouldn't be up to me to wade through 3 episodes of crap to finally get to the good stuff. I think TV showrunners need to do a better job of that. Anyway, I had tried Disenchantment and I tapped out. I don't think I'm going to be going back, but it's at least good to hear that it improves. It's at least good to hear that they improve. So that's good. But I gave it a shot. and it fell on its face for me. So I'm not going back to it. All right. Alex Bossy writes, what worse blackface? White actor playing Arabic people, black men acting like white woman. Personally, I don't care as long as it's trying to be offensive. What do you think? I respect Justin Trudeau's answer. Yeah, so this was a big thing going on in Canada, and Canada does not like to be at the center of things. Now, look, I'll be honest. Blackface, brownface, whatever you want to talk about it, is not a good idea. Not a good idea, ladies and gentlemen. Not a good idea. So what happened was that the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, who I like very much, it came out that I believe they said 19 years ago, almost 20 years ago, he went to a party that had that was an Arabian Nights party. And he went to the party, and as a part of his full get-up and gimmick, and Justin Trudeau is completely into cosplay. He, even as Prime Minister, he goes out every Halloween with his whole family dressed up. Right? Like this one Halloween, he went out as Han Solo. His wife was dressed as Princess Leia. His kids were dressed. I mean, it's great. He loves his cosplay. But 19 years ago, he went to an Arabian Nights party, and he decided as a part of his costume, he put on makeup. Bad decision. Bad decision. Clearly, no intent to offend anybody. Clearly, no intent to be offensive or hurtful to anybody. That was clearly not his intent. But that doesn't mean it wasn't stupid. Doesn't mean it wasn't stupid. He even went on to say that he even did put the makeup on his legs and everything, even though he was wearing pants. It was just that important to him to truly get the costume right. And then, you see, this is what I like about Justin Trudeau too. Instead of doing what most politicians do, which is get up and say, no, that wasn't me, I didn't do that. Justin Trudeau got up and said, yep, I did that. And you know what? There were other times I did it too. And he just came out with it. He said, look, not only did that happen, and that's true, that did happen. It also happened on several other times when I did costume parties and stuff like that. I did that. Which is the right thing to say. I mean, too many politicians try to deny it. But was it stupid? Yes. And it was dumb. It was dumb. He shouldn't have done it. It was 19 years ago. He wasn't trying to be offensive. I get it, but it was still dumb. So anyway, there's that. I don't want to go into it anymore. We're here to talk about movies, not politics per se. So, but I mean, I am very, very publicly Canadian. So there's my flag right there. I am very much about being Canadian, so I don't mind answering that a little bit. But it was dumb. It was a dumb decision he made 19 years ago, and now he's got to answer for it. So, I mean, it is what it is. We'll see how this all kind of shakes out. Anyway, Django19 writes, are you glad the Patriots cut Antonio Brown? Hell yes. I don't know if you guys follow me on social media. I was pissed that they signed that clown in the first place. I was pissed that they signed him. And I said he won't last 4 games. Turns out he only lasted 1. But yes, I was thrilled that they cut him. I don't want him on my team. He's a super talented receiver. But after seeing all the clownish behavior from him the whole off season and then the beginning of this season, I'm like, I don't want that guy on my favorite team. I don't want him there. I don't care how good of a receiver is. I don't want him on the team. And I said, he's not going to last 4 games. Now, everybody laughed at me when I said that. When I said he won't be on this team for 4 games, everybody laughed. Turns out he only made it 1. But yes, I'm very glad he's gone. Vault of the Future writes, I guess I'm bitter because once a guy with his kids just wouldn't move, and once a couple didn't believe they had my seat, so I had to call an usher. Well, okay, no, that sucks. That's just a rude jerk. If some guy's in your seat and you're showing them they're in your seat and he's just refusing to move anyway, then you've just come across a jerk. And that will happen in life, whether it's in a movie theater or at a family get-together, whatever, you're going to come across jerks. The nice thing, though, is it's an easily fixable situation. All you got to do is show a staff member, this is my seat, here it is, it says right here, that's my seat, somebody else is in it, and they refuse to move. And then they will take care of it. But that really sucks that you had that experience, Vault. It always sucks when we have to have experiences with jerks. It is really too bad. All right, Jay Meister writes, so excited for Disney Plus, you and me both, brother. And unlike everyone else, the first thing I'm going to watch is Fantasia because I've never seen it. Also, Netflix stock dropped. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about Netflix. Stock goes up, stock goes down. It is what it is. I think Netflix will be just fine. I think they've got some adversity ahead of them. They do. They've got challenges to face right now that they've never had to face before. But I think ultimately they'll be fine. But good on you for watching Fantasia that you've never seen it before. Good on you, friend. See, that's I like it when people want to get these new services and they're not just looking forward to the new stuff. They want to dig into that library and watch some of these classics. Good on you for that, Jay Meister. I respect that. All right, Django 19 writes, Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson tomorrow. Who wins? Patrick Mahomes wins. That's just a more well-balanced team. Even if Hunt's still out, that is still just the better team. And I'll take the Chiefs on that. I'll take the Chiefs on that. Let's see. Where'd we go? Another jump. Sorry. La 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 la, how far back do I have to go? Okay, there we go. Django 19, just got that one. Okay, Razman Reality writes, one of two. Gio, it's actually G-I-O. So G-I-O, because Giovanni is G-I-O-V, Giovanni. So the short is G-I-O, not Geo as in National Geographic, just so you know. Anyway, Gio, as a UFC fan, help me out. I've never been able to get into it. Maybe it's because I'm a lifelong wrestling fan. Am I just used you and enjoy? Do you mean am I just used to it? Look, MMA is like anything else, entertainment. Not everything will be for everybody, right? So like I like, Marvel movies. Okay, not everybody will. I like DC movies. Not everybody will. I like football. Not everybody will. I like UFC. Not everybody will. And it's the onus is not on you to make yourself like it. If it doesn't work for you and you don't enjoy it, then you don't enjoy it. Anyway, I should read your follow-up here too. You enjoy too much the choreographed nature of the storytelling. What am I missing? If you're talking about you're just too used to the choreographed storytelling, well, I mean, look, the difference obviously is wrestling is theater and MMA is a real sport. But when I say that wrestling is theater, I don't mean that as an insult at all. It's great theater, but it is theater nonetheless. Whereas MMA is a sport, and it's funny because a friend of ours, Nigel, who is Kaori's boyfriend. Nigel is the play-by-play guy, the color commentator on WWE's NXT. And it's funny because we just had a little watching thing over here the other night because, Nigel's, and now that's on what is it, on the USA Network? I think NXT's on the USA Network. So we were sitting there watching Nigel on TV the other day. It's like, woo! And Nigel comes over here, plays poker and all that kind of stuff. So I grew up watching wrestling, huge respect for wrestling, but they're two different things. But listen, just because you like wrestling doesn't mean you should like MMA. It's a sport. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. And you shouldn't feel bad about that. And you shouldn't try to think that you need to find ways to force yourself to like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You like what you like, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right. Mark Badalato writes, speaking of Italian heritage, ever watch Sebastian Maniscalco, fantastic comedian with a bunch of specials on Netflix. Love him, seen him live twice. I've never even heard of him, but I'll tell you what. Let me Sebastian. You know what's funny? When I type in Sebastian, his full name comes right up. Oh, I have seen this guy. You know what? This guy, Maniscalco, he's popped up on ESPN on some sports shows before as well. So I've never seen any of his specials and stuff like that, but now that I see a picture of him, I totally recognize him, but I might have to check that out. Thanks for the suggestion, Mark. I appreciate that, man. All right. Yeah, we already got to that Razman one. Chris Warden writes, I hope Hobbs and Shaw will be the final clue Hollywood needs to learn that they can drop big blockbusters in August and they'll make money. In my opinion, it should be a no-brainer ever since TMNT and Guardians of the Galaxy cleaned up in 2014. Well, here's the thing, Chris. It's not just that. I believe, and the studios are realizing this too, they are, that there is opportunity to drop big films year round, right? As a matter of fact, which movie we were talking about? Bad Boys 3. Hold on a second. 3 IMDb. Okay. So Bad Boys for Life, I believe it's being released in January. Yes, January 17th, right? Traditionally, January looked at as a dumping ground for just the movies you have no belief in and no faith in. Just dump them in January, whatever. Just get them in theaters. By them putting Bad Boys for Life in there, I have said for years that I believe in these so-called dumping grounds that there is opportunity for a studio to drop a high-profile film and make a lot of money. And Bad Boys for Life, Bad Boys 3 is clearly a very high-profile film, and they're dropping it in January? I love it. I think they're going to make, I don't even think the trailer's any good, but I think they're going to make some money. I think they're going to make some money there. So it's not just like August. I believe the studios are starting to realize there is year-round opportunity. Look, you put out a great entertaining movie any time of the year, it'll get its audience. Now, you don't want to open your great big high-profile movie on the exact same day as 3 or 4 other big high-profile movies. No, but traditionally, you don't release your big movie in September. Yeah, you can. You don't release your big movie in January. You can. And I believe August is definitely one of those too. So we'll see how that all evolves, Chris. We will see how all that evolves. All right, Django19 writes, if Once Upon a Time gets nominated for Best Picture, do you equate that to Black Panther being nominated just because it's popular and they love movies about Hollywood? Well, here's the thing. It's like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood isn't that popular. Like if we look at the box office, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, box office. Here's the thing. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is not that huge of a hit of a movie. It made $330 million, which is good. I'm not saying 330 million worldwide isn't good. It's good. It's not bad. It broke even. It probably made a little bit of money. Cost almost 100 million for them to make it. But yeah, at 330, they made money. But it's not like it's a $700 million movie. It's not like it's an $800 million movie. It's not like it's $1 billion film, right? So I think if Once Upon a Time in Hollywood gets nominated, it's going to get nominated because Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood. And it's Quentin Tarantino, who's kind of become Hollywood royalty as well. Look, I think Black Panther got nominated because voting members of the Academy liked it enough to nominate it. That said, I also believe there's undeniably been a growing amount of pressure being put on the Academy Awards to nominate what is popular instead of what is good. And that's a terrible thing. That's unfortunate. The Oscars shouldn't care about what's popular and not popular. The Oscars should only care about what is the best. Not what's most popular, not what made the most money. And if the two can be the same, great. If not, oh well, go with what's best. But the Academy Awards has been under a lot of pressure the last few years to nominate what is popular instead of what is best. And that shows no more clearly than in the fact that they were actually looking at doing that stupid thing of creating a best popular movie category. What an idiotic brain freeze of a moronic move that would have been. Oh my, I cannot believe how stupid they were to even think about that and consider it. And by the way, they pulled the plug on it, but it's still being considered. It's still being considered. Keep that in mind. There is this ever-growing pressure, but still, I honestly think that the Academy members, because I know a couple of voting Academy members, and I know that to them, Black Panther was one of their top 10 favorite films of the year. Okay, then I've got no problem with them voting for it and nominating it. I don't think Black Panther deserved to be nominated for Best Picture. I thought it was a very good movie if you saw my review for it, I thought it was great. I loved it. But Black Panther wasn't even the best comic book movie of the year. It wasn't even the second best comic book movie of the year. It was the third best comic book movie of the year, which tells you how good of a year it was for comic book movies. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was better. And Avengers Infinity War was better, which Black Panther was also in. So that's just me, but there's that. But yes, I do think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is going to get voted on because a lot of people in the Academy, Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood, and they're going to love it. They're going to love it, so they're going to nominate it. I wouldn't nominate it. I didn't think it was all that good. I mean, again, in a world of either thumbs up or thumbs down, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a thumbs up movie for me. I like the movie. I think it's good. I enjoyed it. I've seen it twice, actually. I went to go watch it twice. But it's not one of Tarantino's best, in my opinion. And it does not deserve a Best Picture nomination, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see how it kind of works out. All right. Let's see here. Vault of the Future writes, congrats, Grandpa Campea. Italians truly never die. Yeah, my grandfather, Giovanni Sr., I mean, it's not senior, it's just Giovanni Campea. My grandfather's still around and still doing well. I got to go back and see him at Christmas time. Alex Bossy writes, I mean to say, as long as the blackface is not offensive, I believe Trudeau 20 years ago wasn't trying to be offensive. It was an homage. Oh, no, I agree. And I think most people know there was clearly no intent on his part to be or to act in any way offensive. But that doesn't mean it was smart. You know, you can be well-intentioned and still do something dumb, right? Now, I'd rather somebody be well-intentioned and do something dumb than purposefully try to offend people, obviously. But it still doesn't take away from the fact that it was kind of dumb, even 20 years ago or 19 years ago, whatever. But it was clearly he was not trying to be offensive. He was just trying to get into character. He was trying to really make a good costume and all that. I get it. I think he was trying to be Aladdin. I get it. But it's still not smart. Now, granted, at the time, he wasn't in politics or anything like that. I get it, but still not smart. Not smart. So, it is what it is. Thomas Kellner writes, to top... probably meant and to top it off, after seeing it too, because of the runtime of 3 hours with limited parking, they charged $8 to get my car out of the cark. You probably meant like car parking. I can't remember which movie we were talking about, Thomas, but the runtime of 3 hours. So yeah, that's the other thing here. That's the other thing. Parking at movie theaters is becoming a challenge in some places. Because like there are places, I know in Los Angeles, Thomas, there's this place called the AMC Century City. That's a good ways away from me, but it's on the west end of Los Angeles, way out west. And they do a lot of the press screeners at the AMC Century City, which is one of the reasons why I don't even go to press screenings anymore most of the time. It's like I can't be bothered to make that drive. I can wait a few extra days and watch it with an audience. But anyway. But parking out there, it can be expensive. Heaven help you if you got to go to 2 films. And I remember there's more than a couple occasions I used to go out there and go to things, and either because of the movie was long or because there was 2 movies I had to see, I ended up paying like $21 for parking. I mean, so that comes into play too, doesn't it? So yeah, that is something they've got to keep in mind, Thomas, and something we all got to keep in mind too, because it adds up, brother. It adds up. All right, Hector Jeter writes, rewatch Commando last night. Nice, the Schwarzenegger one. I forgot about that cringe intro to that movie. The music, eating ice cream, feeding deer, and Alyssa Milano. I don't remember the opening. I gotta admit, I cannot remember the opening. Obviously, I remember Alyssa Milano, but I cannot remember the opening to that. Remember I said I would kill you last? Yes, you did. I lied. It's a good movie, man. It's a good movie, but I don't remember the opening. But you know what? I got to go back and watch that again. You've reminded me, Hector. It's been a tick since I've seen Commando, and I need to go back and watch that again. All right, Mike Hill writes, do you think Khabib could have beaten Bruce Lee? Yes. But again, it's because of the evolution. Bruce Lee, clearly one of the godfathers of causing that evolution in martial arts and all that kind of stuff. He's part of the guys like him and Royce Gracie pushed the art of mixed martial arts forward and the notion of combat fighting and all that kind of stuff. But because of the work that he did, because of the stuff that Bruce Lee and Royce Gracie did, pushing that art further, well, now fighters today are much more further ahead than I think they were before. So yes, I do think Khabib would have beaten Bruce Lee. I do. I don't think Bruce Lee would have had an answer for grappling. I don't think he would have. But that's just my thought. That's just my opinion. Don't at me for that or anything. All right, Nick writes, how about Khabib versus Chuck Norris? Easy. Khabib would have won that fight too. SMJ writes, recently my dad passed away from pancreatic cancer. So sorry to hear about that. While he was a person that would give you a one-word answer and keep it short and simple, since he was told to stay in bed and rest, he became a movie documentary fanatic. I have used your daily topic starter to start conversations, and his responses were extraordinary, in-depth, and experience another side out of my father because of you. His favorite film was Click by Adam Sandler. May the filthy be with you. Thank you. I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know what to say to that. Thank you for sharing that. Number one, thank you for sharing that. And again, that is an incredible testimony to the power of movies. And and to the film fan community and to the movie community and to the art of movies in and of themselves. We as a species are and always have been storytellers, and it's within stories that we find a lot of common ground. It's within stories and the ultimate art of storytelling, the movies, that we find depth in our relationships and new things to discover about each other and stuff like that. And the fact that movies for you could be a bridge and a platform into deeper discussions with your dad and stuff like that, which reveals parts of us that maybe we didn't know about each other, I think is remarkable. And for you to honor me by even suggesting that this show had something to do with that, I am extremely grateful. Thank you. You truly honor me. Thank you so much for sharing that. Again, my deepest condolences for your loss. You honor storytelling. You honor the art of filmmaking. You honor all of that and our community by sharing your story, that became a bridge for you and your dad to have those sorts of conversations and for you to see different sides of your dad. I think that's awesome. And it speaks to the greatness of storytelling, and it speaks to the greatness of movies. And it just speaks again to why I love the movies so damn much. So thank you, SMJ, for sharing that, for sharing it with all of us. Thank you just very, very much. It's appreciated. And again, deepest condolences. And yeah, man, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Okay. Let's keep on going here. And again, thank you. How do I move on from that? I don't know, but let's keep going here. Nick writes, I'd like to apologize on behalf of A.H. Craig, who sent in that super chat about being small down there. I know it's free money, but still not nice to hear. Don't worry about it. I mean, look, I've always said, if somebody wants to come on here and pay me money to be an ass, I'll be more than happy about paying their money, about taking their money. I'm more than happy about it. And as far as, suggesting or asking me if I'm small down there, I guess the only thing I can say is, as I was banging his mother, she was screaming that it was too big. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he should ask her. So that's just me. Anyway, Nick also writes, honestly, feel sorry if you're dealing with this crap. Listen, when you're on YouTube, look, when I was back at AMC and the other place that I worked, when I would bring in new staff, particularly new staff that were going to be on camera, I always had several conversations that I would have with them. But one of them was always this: be prepared for this. When you put yourself out there and you're going to be on YouTube or have a public platform of some kind, there are going to be, there are assholes in the world, and they're going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to reveal themselves. And you just got to be prepared that that's part of the reality. That's just part of the reality. It's a real thing. I remember me and Harloff would be sitting down and we were talking to somebody. I won't say who, but it's like they had just gotten their first like hate thing, their first negative thing said about them in a chat board or on Twitter was like, somebody wrote this to me, and they didn't know what to do because they'd never really been in the big in the public eye before, and so they didn't know what to do. And me and Harloff were like, you do realize, right, that like you're talking to a couple of guys that we get like this all the time. I mean, it's just part, and you're going to have to learn to deal with that because it's part of the reality. It doesn't make it okay, but you just got to understand, and that's why it doesn't bother me. I'm more than happy to take people's money. All right. Coolsome XD writes, finished Link's Awakening on Switch, loads of nostalgia. You know what? I've been looking, because Ann and I also have, on top of having a PlayStation 4, we have a Nintendo Switch. And we play the Switch a lot because we often have friends over, and whenever we have a bunch of friends over, inevitably we all start playing Mario Party. It's a fun game to play when everybody's had a couple of drinks and are just like want to hang out. It gets pretty fun anyway. So I've been looking more and more at some Switch games, and that's one of them. All right, Rugo Kelvin writes, hey, Burton, is Superman uncircumcised? Just curious. No idea. Burton is my middle name. Bertano is the Italian phrase of my middle name. The Hardcore Gamer writes, John Krasinski for Mr. Fantastic. He's been wanting an MCU role for so long, and that's a perfect role for him. No, you don't know that. Because you don't know. This is what I would say when somebody say such and such an actor would be perfect in this role. You don't know that because you don't know what kind of Mr. Fantastic they're going to write for a movie. You have no idea what kind of Mr. Fantastic they're going to write. What if they write a Mr. Fantastic that's like in his late 40s, right? Then that's different. What if they write a Mr. Fantastic that's very different from John Krasinski? And don't tell me, but in the comic, no. In the comic book, he's been portrayed in many, many different ways by different writers, right? So look, don't get me wrong. To me, all I ever care about is, do you put in a good actor? I've always liked John Krasinski. And if they announced tomorrow that John Krasinski was going to be Mr. Fantastic, then I'm all for it. But I'm also all for 20 or 30 other names as well, as long as they're good ones. But it's impossible for us to say this guy would be perfect for that role when none of us have any idea what that role is going to be. We don't know what type of Mr. Fantastic they're going to give us. Even the comic books have like 5 or 6 different variations of him that aren't all the same. So that's why I always kind of hesitate a little bit about that. But I will say this, Hardcore. If they announced him tomorrow, I'd be all for it. But then again, like I said, there's about 20 or 30 other names that I would be all for as well. And every actor right now wants in the MCU. Let's be clear about that. Every actor wants to be in the MCU right now. Times have changed. All right, Slim Trav writes, over under 60%. Dolphins go 0-16 this year. I will take over on that. They are truly that bad. They are truly that bad. I never will ever cheer for any team to go over. Never. I would never cheer for that. But I just watched how truly bad they are. But remember, they played the Ravens and they played the Patriots. Both those teams look really damn good right now. So maybe how bad they've looked up to this point is more of a reflection of how good the teams they've played are. And maybe who knows? Maybe they'll turn it around. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Coolsome XD writes, try Deadly Premonition Switch. Deadly Premonition Switch. It's like Twin Peaks. Is that a PS4 game? Or are you saying the game is Deadly Premonition and it's on the Switch? I'm not sure. I'll look it up afterwards, though. I'll look it up, see what we're talking about. Suthius writes, sometimes when you agree with yourself, you stare off screen. Yeah, I do. I mean, look, I don't like always staring right at the camera. Like sometimes like I'll look at my other camera over there, or like my shelf over there, or I'll look at that over there. And because I find when I'm looking at the camera, I'm focused on the camera. When I want to think for a second and I'm talking things out, and I'm talking things out with myself, I like to focus more, and it helps me focus more if I look off somewhere else. You know, I'll look at, Forky over here, or I'll look at the light over there. And so then when I come back to the camera, I'm more focused on the camera. So sometimes that's one of my little quirks, I think. Hector Jeter writes, the 2 AMC theaters I go to in Las Vegas normally never go over 22 minutes of trailers. I don't mind because it gives me time to get popcorn and refreshments. I've only ever been to the one AMC, and is that the Promenade it's called? There's that big outdoor shopping complex. I think it's called the Promenade. I'm not sure. I've been to that AMC a number of times. I like that AMC. As a matter of fact, I like that whole shopping center. There's great restaurants in there, some really cool shops, some great gaming stores in there. It's a really cool place. I go there at least twice a year. I'll go over there, and at least once a year I go see a movie at that AMC. But it's good that they're trying to keep the trailers at least down a little bit. 22 minutes is still too long, but at least it's not as long as like 25, 26, 27, 28 is like some other places. All right. Oops, another jump. There we go. Okay, Arturo Mansouri writes, Black and Blue trailer was great. Can't wait. Which one was Black and Blue? Hold on a second. I'm not familiar. Not familiar with this. But it's got Tyrese in it. It's got Tyrese Gibson in it. My buddy. So I might have to go check that out. I haven't seen it. I have not seen the trailer for this. But hey, it's got Frank Grillo in it. I like Frank Grillo. It's got Mike Coulter. I love Mike Coulter. It's got Naomi Harris. I like Naomi Harris. So yeah, I have not heard of this thing. I haven't seen the trailer for it yet. But let me just cue it up here so I can watch it afterwards, so I can see what we're doing. But it also has the same director who did The Intruder and did Traffic and stuff like that. So I mean, I didn't love either of those movies, but we'll see. Deon Taylor direct. All right, I'll keep my eyes open. I haven't seen it yet, Artur. All right, Haskell 420 writes, one of the greatest marketing campaigns and lines of all time. Save the cheerleader, save the world. Yup, it hooked. That's from Heroes. It hooked you right away. Ads show Claire falling 50 feet to the ground, her getting up, and that was attempt number 19. Oh my God, I'm in. Seriously, they marketed that show so well. And they created this hook in episode number 1, for those of you who've seen it, of he gets this message. Peter Petrelli gets this message from the future. Save the cheerleader, save the world. What the hell does that mean? And then, of course, in the commercials, you see the cheerleader. And it was such a brilliantly done show. Now, it did come off the rails after season 1. But season 1, I contend to this day, is my all-time favorite season of television. Single season of television was Heroes season 1. It was fantastic. Loved it. Loved it. I mean, it's so good. And you're right, Haskell, man. That marketing campaign was pure perfection. And the way they hooked you in, and right from episode number 1, they hooked you in. And again, that slogan carried them the whole season. Save the cheerleader, save the world. What the hell does that mean? And it's, so I'm getting goosebumps and the hair on my arm is starting to stand up. I got to go back. I very, very rarely do I go back and watch television seasons again, but I might have to do it for that. Suthius writes, do you like My Fair Lady and The Sound of Music? Yes, very much. I do. And as a matter of fact, I think me and Ann are going to go to a Hollywood Bowl presentation of The Sound of Music this year, although they do it every year, so we got to go to the next one. Michael Bradley writes, hello, John. I had my own This Is BS moment when I heard that TiVo might put an ad before DVR content. I love my TiVo, but geez, I've never owned a TiVo. But I mean, they were the shit for a long time. Like, you got to have a TiVo. There was a long time that you had to have a TiVo. But wow, I mean, okay. Here's the thing, though. I don't have philosophically, I don't have as big of a problem with stuff when you're talking about free content. Like, if I pre-record a bunch of shows that are on TV, the fact that I got to watch an ad, okay, I got to watch an ad. I'm getting the show for free. Notwithstanding your cable bill and everything, but essentially I'm watching the show for free. So yeah, show an ad or two. I load up IMDb, for example. If I load up IMDb, let's see here. If I go over to IMDb, okay. So I go over to IMDb. I don't pay. Well, actually, I do pay for IMDb Pro, but let's forget IMDb Pro. I go to IMDb. It's a free website. It's free. So they got to make money somehow. So I don't mind if they want to throw in an ad or two on that. I accept that. That's fine. That's reasonable to me. And so for a TiVo-like thing, watching recorded content that you got for free, I admit the insertion of an ad before watching your recorded content does sound like a bit of a pain in the ass and kind of a little bit like a what the hell kind of moment. But I don't know if I have a big problem with it philosophically. Because again, I'm getting free content. I got to see ads. I'm okay with that. When I go to a movie theater, I just paid you $20. I paid you $20. You don't show me ads when I pay you $20. You let me come in for free. If you want to show me 25 minutes of ads, then you let me come in for free. But if I'm paying $20 to come in here and watch a movie, don't you dare show me a half hour of ads. Anyway, that's, I don't know. It's a different way of looking at it, I suppose. Chris Warden writes, wow, you know Nigel McGuinness. I do know Nigel. In my opinion, he's the greatest Ring of Honor heavyweight champion of all time. Mad respect to that guy. Nigel's really great. I like Nigel quite a bit. And again, him and Corey are dating. Now that's how I got to know him is through Corey. But he comes over, plays, has played a little Mario Party with us, comes over, plays poker. About once a week, we see Nigel come over here. Nice guy too. I can tell you that as well. He's a nice guy. He's a really, really nice guy. Anyway, Harry Wolfel writes, what about Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder with blackface? I mean, that was the gag though, right? That was the gag. And the fact that he was doing it was part of the gag. Let's not pretend like it's an apples to apples situation. That's not an apples to apples situation. That's an apples to spaceship situation. It's kind of like, I don't know, Quentin Tarantino, right? He's in, that's a bad example, but no, that is a different situation. It wasn't Robert Downey Jr. pretending he was a black character. It was Robert Downey Jr. as a white character pretending to be a black. It was part of the gag. So it's a totally different situation. You can't compare the two situations. Laugh Warehouse writes, I know it's not going to happen, but how awesome would it be if they got Liv Tyler back for She-Hulk? I really loved her character in Incredible Hulk, but that's not who She-Hulk is. She-Hulk isn't Betty Ross. So I don't know. I also don't know that Liv Tyler, I don't know that that's a good fit for her either. Now, what I am open to is them bringing her back, bring Betty back, bring her back. I'm cool with that, but not the idea. I don't think I like the idea of Liv Tyler as She-Hulk. I don't think I'm down for that one personally, but bringing her back as Betty, I could be open to that, especially since they sabotaged the Nat and Bruce relationship. Why not bring Betty Ross back? You could do that. All right. Razman's Reality writes, one of two. Thanks, Gio. And yes, it's USA. So cool that you know Nigel. One of my favorite wrestlers. Had the pleasure of chatting with him the last time I got to go to a show. Awesome guy. By the way, it's Becky Lynch who was on Stone Cold show that you couldn't remember a few days ago. Nope. I don't know. No, I did. I have not seen an episode. I know that wasn't it because I haven't seen the episode of Stone Cold show with Becky Lynch on it. I haven't seen that one. So I know that's not the one. By the way, the new Stone Cold Steve Austin show is pretty good. I like watching it. I'm glad you had a chance to meet Nigel. Okay. A fan of Peanuts writes, I signed up for A-List. It's pretty sweet. Saw Good Boys, pretty enjoyable film, 7 out of 10. Then watched Freaks, very good, 8 out of 10. How are you doing, John? Well, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Enjoying my weekend so far. I love A-List. Listen, A-List, Regal Unlimited, things like this. These are the best things to happen to film fans in a long time, maybe ever. The fact that I get to pay $22 a month. And I've gone into AMC 3 times in the last 3 days. I went to go see Ad Astra. I went to go see Rambo. I went to go see Downton Abbey. The Downton Abbey I saw in a Prime theater, and its ticket alone was $23. The ticket, I would have had to pay $23 just for that one movie. I paid less than that for my entire month. Just this week, just in the last 3 days, I saw 3 movies. That's probably about $55 worth of tickets just in the last 3 days. It's the best thing that's ever happened to film fans. Guys, if you live anywhere near an AMC, get an A-list. Get A-list. Get on that. You will go to the movies more. You'll enjoy more films. You don't have to worry about the cost of it nearly as much. And if you don't live but you do live near, say, Regal, give their Regal Unlimited a shot. That looks good too. And of course, when you go in, ask to speak to the manager and tell them you're very unhappy about this commercial stuff and you plan on going to less. Anyway, just tell them something. Or you plan on never buying popcorn there again, because that's where you really hurt the movie theaters. Tell them you are not going to be buying concession stands at the theaters as long as they keep putting in all these commercials. Let them know that. That's where it really hurts them. Anyway, let's see. Harry Wolfel writes, getting excited for episode 9. May the force be with you. I'm starting to get there. I mean, obviously, just in principle, I'm excited because it's a Star Wars movie. I'm excited. But the build up so far, I'm waiting for the first true trailer. Because the first thing they put out was a teaser, and the thing that came out of D23 was just a little sizzle reel. I'm waiting for the first full trailer. And then I can start to feel the excitement getting ramped up. It's funny, Harloff and I we were on the phone today, and we were talking about Star Wars, as Christian and I often will do. But we're on the phone, and Star Wars comes up, and I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to feel that energy and that enthusiasm for Star Wars Episode 9. So, but we're still a little ways off. All right, Suthius writes, I love my wife, but she does not hold the same candle as I do when it comes to film/TV. I don't have to wait for her or anyone when watching something. Well, that's good. Look, Anne understands my job. So Anne loves movies almost as much as I do, which is great for me. So much so that she wants to go to the movies with me, but she understands that there are times that she can't go to a movie this week, but she knows I've got to see it. I have to see it just for my show. I've got to see it. And so she's never given me a hard time about having to go ahead of her and seeing movies without her or anything like that. So I'm very lucky, Suthius, that I've got a wife who, number one, loves TV shows and movies and all that kind of stuff as much as I do, but she's totally understanding that sometimes I just got to go and see it without her, and she's never given me a hard time, which is always good. All right. Chris Warden writes, while everyone is talking about Endgame making $2.8 billion, Lion King just quietly passed $1.6 billion worldwide. That alone must have Disney execs doing backflips. Oh, I'm sure it does. And to put that in perspective, that makes Lion King, let me pull this up here. Lion King is now the 7th highest grossing film of all time. Lion King is the number 7 highest grossing film in the history of cinema. That means this year alone, notwithstanding whatever episode 9 is going to do, Disney has 2 movies this year crack the top 10 of the all-time box office. Avengers Endgame, obviously, and The Lion King. That's huge. Now, I still think Lion King could have hit $2 billion if the reviews had been better. I think Lion King could have gone from 1.61 to 2 had the reviews been better. But once the reviews came out, that's just going to turn too many people off. It's not going to hit $2 billion. But even still, the 7th largest film in the history of cinema. You're right, man. We should be making a bigger deal out of that. You're absolutely right. All right. Let's see another jump. Okay, here we go. Random person writes. You said before that good writing could still end up as a bad movie. It's true. But does bad writing automatically mean it will be a bad movie? It is, let's put it this way. It is harder in terms of degrees of gap. All right. It is easier for a director to make a decent movie out of a bad script. All right. It is easier. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It is easier for a good script to be turned into a bad movie. it's easier for a good script to be turned into a bad movie than it is for a bad script to be turned into a good movie. Because all the building, I mean, if you don't got good characters and good dialogue and all that kind of stuff there, that's tough. But ultimately, a director needs to know what they've got and then send it back to the writers before they start shooting and get it cleaned up and get it fixed up. But it is difficult. It is difficult. It is easier for a good script to be made into a bad film than it is for a bad script to be made into a good film. That's how I see it at any rate. All right, Mr. L writes, Link's Awakening could be a great choice for you. It's a remake of a Game Boy game, so the controls aren't super complicated. Yeah, and just, first of all, the Switch controls generally aren't all that complicated. The Switch controls stand a little bit separate from, it's still in the same DNA though, but a little bit separate from, like, say, PS4 games, or PS4 controllers, Xbox controllers, but for whatever reason, I don't have as much of a hard time with that. So that is something I'm definitely going to put on my radar, Mr. L. Thank you for the recommendation. Link's Awakening. You know what? I'm going to put that on my thing here right now. There we go. Okay, I got it loaded up here. I will go and check that out later. Thank you guys for giving me a new game I can try out. All right. Emad writes, over under 5%. Tyrese Gibson makes an appearance on the John Campea Show. I don't know. Look, as much as I joke about it, I don't know Tyrese personally. For all I know, honestly, look, do I think he has acted as a High Lord Supreme jackass? Yes, I think he has acted as a High Lord Supreme jackass. When it comes to the stuff with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the spin-off movies, the Fast and Furious franchise, yes. Now, that being said, all of us can act like a world-class jackass when it comes to one particular thing, but still maybe generally to be a really good guy, right? I don't know Tyrese personally. I just don't. We've had a couple of interactions online socially, whatever. I don't know him. For all I know, Tyrese Gibson is a truly wonderful human being and a great guy. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's even probable that's the case. But, I'm a film industry pundit. And when I see a guy like Tyrese acting like a world-class jackass, as he has, when it comes to this, how he's conducted himself and the statements that he's made regarding the studio he makes movies for and their other movies, I'm going to call him out on it. I just am. That's my job. That's what I'm going to do. That said, I don't know. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Tyrese asked me to give him my phone number, and I'm just like, no, I'm not giving you my phone number. I'm not giving you my phone number. But I don't know. For all I know, Tyrese may be my future best friend. Maybe he's like the world's greatest guy, and maybe we find a ton of common ground on a bunch of things, and but I don't know. So I will say under 5%, Emad. I will say under 5%. Hey, by the way, let me mention this too, guys. I just bought a new iPad Pro. I'm going to ask for a recommendation from you guys. I just bought an iPad Pro. And the main reason I wanted to get an iPad Pro was because I wanted something that I could truly shoot, record, edit, all that kind of stuff, my quick reaction reviews when I'm out of the house. So like my Ad Astra quick review, my Rambo quick review, and my Downton Abbey quick review were all done with the iPad Pro. Because I could record it. It's got a decent looking camera, but then it's got the horsepower and some really good editing programs. I was able to do that, edit it, render it, publish it all right from the iPad, and it does it with great power. So, I made those things, those particular videos on my new iPad Pro, and I can do live streaming on it a lot easier than I can with a phone because there's more screen real estate and everything. But what I want from you guys is some recommendations. I want some recommendations on good iPad games. What are some good games to get on iPad? That's what I want to know. Because I used to have an iPad years ago. I used to be an iPhone user years ago. I'm more of an Android guy now. But now that I have an iPad Pro, I'd be very, very curious for those of you who are either iPhone owners or iPad owners. What are some good games? And you can send them in the chat, or if you can email me, just email me, john@thejohncampeashow.com. Just email john@thejohncampeashow.com. I'd be very grateful if you could send me some recommendations of what's some good games. Now that I got this like 1 terabyte iPad Pro, what games would be fun to put on it? Please send me your recommendations. I would love to hear your recommendations. Anyway, a fan of Peanuts writes, also, John, my A-list location has an IMAX and Dolby theater, and they offer for us NFL fans several NFL games to watch on Sundays. I'm excited. Yep, the AMC Burbank 16 also shows NFL games. 3 NFL games every Sunday, which you get into free if you're like an A-list member. I think that's a great idea. Now, I haven't taken advantage of it yet because so far they haven't shown any of the games that I'm interested in. And I'm not going to skip my Patriots game at home so I can go and watch a game, a non-Patriots game at the end. But once they have a Patriots game in there, I'll go and watch it. But that is great. My local AMC also has a Dolby Prime, a regular Prime, and an IMAX, all in the AMC Burbank 16. And they show those NFL games on Sunday, which is a great idea. So they're picking up their game. They're picking up their game a bit here. All right, Nick writes, seen Geronimo Masconi. He was an Italian news anchor that always lost his shit. My Italian family used to laugh a lot. You should look him up on YouTube. You know what? I'm going to do that right now. Hold on a second. Germano Masconi. Just no videos playing, just screenshots of the guys up. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to watch this. So no, I've never heard of this guy, but I got to go watch some of this because that sounds hilarious. Thanks for pointing that out, Nick. All right. Roke22 writes, I went to see some trailers and ads in the theaters and they had a dang movie attached to it. I'll tell you what, how many times has this happened, guys? I know it's stereotypical, but it's true. How many times you gone to the movies? I swear to God, this just happened with Downton Abbey. You go to the movies and you're sitting there and the trailers are playing and the trailers are playing and the trailers are playing and the trailers are playing. Maybe they pop in a commercial or two and then trailers playing. And then the movie's about to start and you're like, I have forgotten what movie I'm here to see. Seriously, it happens all the freaking time, man. Happens all the time. And Suthius writes, oh, sorry, I had another jump. Okay, here we go. Suthius writes, might as well thrown in Dean Cain soups in Crisis. Seriously, that's come up. We got 3 Supermen right now. We got Holchin, however you pronounce his name. We got Brandon Routh. We got Tom Welling. I wouldn't doubt it at all if Dean Cain came in there too. Nick writes, will you rank Star Wars movies when Episode 9 release? Yeah, I mean, I can tell you my rank right now without Episode 9. The best are the Star Wars original trilogy. There you go. Original trilogy way up here. Then down here are The Force Awakens, Rogue One, Solo, The Last Jedi. And then way down here are the prequels. So that's how I rank them right now. So yeah, once I see Episode 9, I'll throw that in the ranking as well. Min Tran writes, who are you talking to? Grant Morrison fans. Who are you talking to? Grant Morrison fans, Reddit trolls with DC subscriptions, and the 3 new fans who stuck around after the donkey fart. I honestly don't know what that's a reference to, man. Sorry about that. Nick writes, as a guess, how many films you think you have seen? Oh God, I have no idea. I have no idea. I couldn't even begin to venture a guess. I mean, it's in the thousands, but is it in the tens of thousands? I don't know. Is that unrealistic? I have no idea. Not even the slightest clue. Marcos Funes writes, hey, John, I really admire people with the great work ethic, and you, sir, are on the A-list. Superb work, and thanks for the solid content. Well, thank you so much, Marcos. I appreciate that, man. And, you know, I've always said, if you cannot be the most talented guy, be the one that works the hardest. Now, that used to be a thing for athletes. You know, you might not be the most talented player on the field today, but be the one that works the hardest. And I've always kind of taken that as well to be a truism professionally as well. Like, hey, maybe I'm the most talented, maybe I'm not. But what I can't control that. What I can control is if I can work harder than everybody else. And I've always tried to pass it on to people who work for me. No one ever wants to hear that, though. No one ever wants to hear that you need to work hard. But at least I try to apply to myself that You know, whether I'm super talented or not is not for me to decide. I'm born with what I got and I got to live with it. But what I can do is be the hardest worker there is. And I've always said, you know what? You might have more talent than me. You might. And I'm speaking to a hypothetical person. You might have more talent than me. You will never outwork me. You will never outwork me. You will never put in more effort than me. And that's the one thing you can control. The funny thing is, and this comes up a lot, but I want to say it again. I know there's a lot of other people out there who would love to start YouTube channels, who would love to do blogs or podcasts and whatever, but what they never want to hear is how hard you should work to do it. What everybody always wants to hear is they want to hear where's the magic button you press that gets you 10,000 followers. Where's that? It's always inevitable. Like when I talk to people, and I'm doing, whether it's at a convention or I'm doing a panel or something like that, or even online, when talking about, you know, developing your YouTube channel, developing your podcast, developing your blog, everybody always asks the wrong questions. They never ask, how should I structure my time, like say in the mornings? Like what's the most efficient way to use my time properly when I'm gathering and putting together my content? You know, the right questions. Never get asked the right questions. The questions I always get asked are, how do I grow my channel? And what they want to hear is, oh, well, on YouTube, go to this setting and click this box and then your channel will grow. They never want to hear, work your ass off for 12 hours a day. Work your ass off for 14 hours a day. They never want to hear that, right? They never want to hear that. Everybody wants everything to be easy. You know, we live in a, what's a good show example of this? We live in a The Voice world where people just want to go on The Voice, sing a song, and be given a contract. They don't want to put in the work, you know what I mean? And the one thing I will always do, and sometimes I'll do it well, and sometimes I will do it badly, but at least the one thing I will always do is I believe in working hard. I believe in, and you know what helps? I love what I do. I love what I do. So that comes into play. So thank you for that, man. To me, that's the highest compliment. So thank you. I appreciate that very much. Sometimes I do it well, sometimes I do it badly, but at least I'll be doing it to the best of my ability and as hard as I can. So sounds like I'm talking about sex. Sometimes I'll do it well, sometimes I won't do it so well, miss, but at least you'll always know I'm giving it my best and I'm working hard. Anyway, am I talking about sex or am I talking about doing YouTube channels? All right, Suthius writes, I didn't mind Tyrese in the Transformers movies. You know what? No, they're straight up. I actually really like Tyrese in the Transformers movies. I don't always love the Transformers movies, but I like. And guess what? I like Tyrese in the Fast and Furious movies as well. Just because I think he acted badly in one scenario doesn't mean I'm going to pretend that I haven't enjoyed him in other. I have. I get a kick out of him on screen. I do. I do. Outside of him acting like a jackass, I consider myself a fan. I enjoy seeing him pop up on stuff. I honestly do. I'm not just giving that lip service. I honestly do. Suthius also writes, maybe he's also fancies mayo on hot dogs. But who knows? Maybe Tyrese likes mayo on his hot dogs just like me. And we can become best friends over that. Did we just become best friends? Yep. Name that movie. Anyway, plays Battlefront. I don't know how to pronounce that. Earlier you talked about season 1 of Heroes being your favorite TV season ever. Personally, mine is the West Wing season 2. God, West Wing is so good. I was very late to the West Wing party. It was a few years ago. I believe I was still at Collider. And there was that one time that I think this is when it happened, that I came back from Vegas just deathly ill. We came back from the Academy of Web Television Awards, where we just won Best Live Series again at the IAW TV Awards, and the ceremony was held in Vegas. We went, and we came back, a number of us, including me and Dennis, deathly sick. Like I can't ever remember being that sick. And I was out for a number of weeks. I was out for a couple of weeks. And it was, I believe it was during that time that I started watching West Wing. I think that's when I started watching West Wing. And I watched the whole series in the span of just a couple of weeks. I watched all eight seasons all within a couple of weeks. I was just watching episode after episode. I could not get enough of that show, man. That show is great. Nick writes, you'd love the movie trivia / quiz app for iPad Pro. Movie trivia quiz app. That sounds like something right up my alley. Hold a second. I'm going to open up a note here. Movie quiz app. All right. I'm going to look that up. Thank you for the recommendation. Angry Birds 2. I'm not much of an Angry Birds guy. CSR 2. I don't know what CSR means. Balloons TD6. All right. All great apps. I'm just going to, copy and paste that. Instead of just doing a different note, I'm just going to copy and paste that in. Okay. Done. Thank you, Nick. Did I copy the right one? Hold on a second. I got to open that up again to see if I did. Nope, I copied and pasted the wrong thing. Hold on a second. There we go. There, okay. Thank you for that, Nick. And Hungry Shark is also a great game. I've never heard of that one. Hungry Shark, got it. All right, final question of the day. And then we are wrapped up. We've gone over 2.5 hours today here, guys. Final question of the day. We're all caught up. A fan of Peanuts writes, do you watch Mindhunters? I do. Season 2 is excellent. 8.5. I love Mindhunters. And I actually thought Mindhunter Season 2 was better than Season 1. I adore this show. It's so good. And it's got the girl from Fringe in there. I like the characters. They kind of, like last season, the focus of the show was the younger guy. This season, Bill's the focus of the show. And I like how they're kind of changing focuses throughout it. I think it's a brilliant show. I love it, and I'm enjoying it very much. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and being a part of this. Thank you to all you guys. Oh, see, I was looking up Germano Mosconi. Thank you guys for sending in all the questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way as you were doing it, and I thank you for that. So that will do it for me for now, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Kick ass for the rest of your weekend, guys. I'll be back again later, and until next time, bye-bye.